What time is it? Where you are? Is it late at night, when the streets outside your window are quiet, when the only sounds are the soft hum of appliances or the occasional car in the distance? Or is it early morning, when the world is still heavy with sleep, when the sky outside is neither night nor day but some silent shade in between? Wherever you are, I want you to imagine this. Above you, beyond the ceiling, beyond the air you breathe, beyond the clouds and the pale blue shell of our atmosphere, there is a vast ocean. Not of water, but of darkness, stretching without end. And in that darkness, drifting like a piece of cosmic debris caught in an endless tide, is something strange. It is called Three-Eye Atlas, and tonight this is its story. The first time astronomers noticed it, they thought it was just another rock, another faint streak of light captured in the Deep Sky Survey, run by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, better known as ATLAS. ATLAS is not one telescope, but 4, spread out across Hawaii, Chile, and South Africa. Each night their automated eyes scan the skies, looking for anything that moves against the still backdrop of stars. Their purpose is practical: to detect asteroids on a collision course with Earth, to give us warning should a catastrophe ever come. On June 15, 2024, one of those automated surveys flagged something unusual. It wasn't a near-Earth object, not even a body bound to the Sun in the same way our planets are. Its trajectory was too steep, its speed too great. And as the data began to accumulate, scientists realized this was something extraordinary. This was only the third confirmed interstellar object ever seen. The first had been Oumuamua back in 2017. The second was Borisov in 2019. Both had already shaken astronomy to its core, showing us that our solar system is not isolated, not alone, but continuously crossed by objects from other star systems. Frozen emissaries from unimaginable distances. And now, in 2024, here was a third, Three-Eye Atlas. Pause with me here, and let the scale settle into your thoughts. Interstellar space is vast, so vast that even light, travelling at 300,000 kilometers per second, takes more than 4 years to cross the tiny gap to the nearest star. Most of it is empty, a near-perfect vacuum. For an object to wander through that emptiness, and by sheer chance cross paths with our solar system, is beyond improbable. And yet, improbability is not impossibility. Oumuamua passed us like a fleeting visitor, a shard of something, perhaps a comet core, perhaps something stranger, that had been travelling for hundreds of millions of years. Borisov, a true comet, left behind the unmistakable tail of sublimating ice as it passed the Sun. So when Atlas detected Three-Eye, astronomers knew history was repeating itself. Another piece of another world had arrived. But there was something different this time, something unsettling. Imagine standing outside on a cool night. The stars above are fixed, eternal points, silent witnesses to billions of years. But among them sometimes a traveller appears, a meteor burning through the sky, or the faint moving dot of a satellite. This was like that, but on a cosmic scale. Three-Eye Atlas was moving far faster than any asteroid bound to the Sun. Calculations showed it entered our solar system at nearly 26 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. That's faster than any human spacecraft ever built. Faster than Voyager 1, the most distant probe we've ever launched, which crawls through interstellar space at just over 17 kilometers per second. And here is where metaphor helps us feel the immensity. At 26 kilometers per second, Three-Eye is moving 170 times faster than a rifle bullet. Every second, it could circle the Earth more than twice if a pathway were laid around our planet. Every minute, it crosses the distance from New York to Tokyo. Every hour, it sweeps nearly as far as the Moon is from Earth. This is the speed of exile, the speed of something that does not belong here. Astronomers tracked its path carefully. The numbers told a story of origin and destiny. Unlike the planets, unlike the asteroids that orbit between Mars and Jupiter, unlike the icy comets, at the edge of the Oort cloud, Three-Eye's orbit is not closed. It is a hyperbola, a curve that enters from infinity and departs back into infinity. A straight line bent only slightly by the gravity of the Sun. This means it came from beyond our system, and it will not remain. Its visit is temporary. It is a messenger, not a resident. But what kind of messenger, that no one can yet answer. You might be wondering, why does this matter? It is, after all, just a rock, or so it seems. Another icy fragment ejected from some distant star system long ago. But here is the unsettling thought. Every interstellar object we've seen so far has been unique. Oumuamua, cigar-shaped, tumbling, accelerating in a way no comet should. Borisov, a comet, yes, but with chemical compositions never before recorded in our system, and now 3I Atlas, which has begun to show hints of something even stranger. For astronomers, this is not just an object, it is a test, a puzzle, a chance to hold in our telescope something not of this solar system, not of this sun. To read the story of another world, written in ice and rock and dust, drifting into our sky. But as data came in, questions piled higher. 3I was brightening and fading in unexpected rhythms. Its composition appeared inconsistent, and the shape of its orbit, if you looked too closely, suggested gravitational influences not accounted for. It was almost as though the universe were whispering, "Pay attention." As you lie there, listening, perhaps with your eyes half closed, imagine yourself drifting with it. Imagine leaving behind the familiar warmth of Earth, the fragile safety of our atmosphere, and following this object on its path. Past the gas giants, past the pale light of the Kuiper Belt, back into the cold dark between the stars. Imagine that you're seeing it not as a telescope sees it, a faint streak of light, but with your own eyes, up close. A massive body, tens or hundreds of meters across, pitted, scarred, ancient. It carries the dust of stars you have never seen, forged in a system that may no longer exist. Perhaps the star that birthed it is dead, collapsed into a cold ember, its planets shattered. And yet here, impossibly, a fragment of it has arrived at our doorstep. Is that not worth marvel? Is that not worth fear? This is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we will follow the astronomers who first studied 3I Atlas, and we will see the raw data, the images, the measurements, the numbers that turned curiosity into unease, because already, even in the earliest days, there were anomalies. And one anomaly in particular would break the rules of physics we thought we understood. But for now, let the thought linger gently. Somewhere above you, in the deep quiet of the sky, something alien is passing through, something ancient, something fast, and it will not be here forever. Have you ever wondered how discovery actually happens? Not the grand kind we read about in history books, the first footprints on the moon, the unveiling of a new continent, but the quiet, hidden kind. The kind that happens at 3 a.m. when a computer algorithm flags a single pixel of light moving differently from the stars behind it. This is how 3I Atlas first arrived in human awareness. Not with a flash, not with a cosmic boom, but with the faintest of signals. A point of light that should not have been there. The Atlas system, the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, is designed for vigilance. It is humanity's early warning network, a set of robotic telescopes watching the sky every clear night, searching for asteroids that could one day collide with Earth. Its mandate is simple: give us time. If a rock the size of a mountain is coming, we want to know not days before, but months or years in advance. The system was built after decades of worrying close calls. Small asteroids had streaked past Earth, undetected until hours before their closest approach. The Tunguska blast of 1908, the Chelyabinsk meteor in 2013, remind us that the sky is not empty, that we live under a constant rain of stone and fire. Atlas was meant to ease that fear, and yet in the summer of 2024 it delivered something far stranger. On June 15th, the telescope on Mauna Loa in Hawaii recorded a faint moving object. At first, it looked ordinary, another near-Earth asteroid candidate. But as follow-up observations came in, the numbers didn't fit. Its path was too steep, too sharp against the background of the solar system. By June 20th, the automated orbit calculations flagged it as unusual. By June 23rd, astronomers had confirmed the impossible. Its orbit was hyperbolic. Hyperbolic means it doesn't belong here. Hyperbolic means it came from beyond the gravitational grasp of the sun. Hyperbolic means interstellar. For the third time in human history, we had detected a visitor from the stars. Pause for a moment and let that realization sink into your own imagination. When Oumuamua was discovered in 2017, the astronomical community was electrified. An object from another star system tumbling through our solar system like a splinter of alien wood. Borisov in 2019 had been the second. A comet, yes, but chemically different from any comet we had catalogued before. And now, in 2024, here was 3I Atlas, the third. Proof that the galaxy is not static, that the space between stars is alive with debris, drifting endlessly, crossing invisible borders of star systems like ships passing in the night. It made the universe feel smaller and larger at once. Smaller because suddenly the space between stars did not feel so empty. Larger because every fragment like this whispered of other suns, other planets, other unknown histories. The early days of observation were a frenzy of collaboration. Astronomers from Hawaii to Chile, from Europe to South Africa, pointed their instruments toward the faint speck. The Pan-STARRS survey joined in. Amateur astronomers too caught traces of it, their backyard telescopes adding pieces to the puzzle. Data flowed in. Each night the object moved slightly against the star field, a faint, stubborn point of light that refused to behave like the comets and asteroids we knew. Its orbit, when charted backward, did not trace to any part of the solar system. Instead, it pointed outward to a direction near the constellation Sagitta, in the thick plain of the Milky Way. This meant it came from far away. Not just far like Pluto, not just far like the Oort cloud, but unimaginably far. From another star system, perhaps dozens, perhaps hundreds of light years distant. Imagine that. A rock or fragment that had travelled across the void for millions of years, perhaps ejected from its home system by a collision, or by the violent pull of a giant planet. For eons, it wandered through lightless gulfs, untouched, unseen. And then, by sheer accident, it entered the gravity well of our sun and crossed the awareness of a small species on a small planet. Us. It is as though a bottle thrown into an infinite ocean had somehow washed up at your feet. As excitement grew, the question shifted from what is it to what do we do now? NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies released orbital data. The International Astronomical Union officially designated it 3I 2024 3 Atlas. The 3I stood for Third Interstellar, but naming it did not explain it, and as telescopes gathered more light, more numbers, more graphs, curiosity began to deepen into unease. Consider this detail. On its inbound leg, 3I Atlas seemed to fluctuate in brightness. Not smoothly, as a rotating rock might, but erratically. Pulses of brightening and dimming, as though its surface were irregular, or as though it were not reflecting sunlight in the way natural objects do. Some astronomers suggested perhaps it was tumbling chaotically, spinning like a poorly thrown football. Others thought perhaps jets of sublimating ice were releasing, making it flicker. But the pattern resisted simple explanation. It brightened and dimmed in ways that seemed almost rhythmic, almost intentional. And then there was its chemical fingerprint. Spectral analysis suggested unusual ratios of carbon, oxygen, and cyanogen compounds. Some argued this was simply the mark of a comet formed in a different environment, under the chemistry of a different star. Others quietly wondered if it hinted at something more, and still, its trajectory puzzled. Hyperbolic, yes, but with a small deviation. As though something nudged it, ever so slightly outside the expected pull of gravity. Imagine the astronomers in those first weeks, exhausted from late nights, eyes red from staring at graphs and starfields, whispering on late calls with colleagues across the world. They had data, yes, but the data whispered contradictions. They could not yet say what this object was, only that it was not ordinary. And remember this, science begins not with answers, but with questions, with anomalies, with things that don't fit. 3 Atlas was not fitting. Let us slow down here, because the pace of the universe is slow. As you breathe, let your thoughts float upward again into the night sky. Picture the telescopes, white domes against mountain ridges, their lenses pointed into the darkness, capturing photons that have travelled for years before bouncing off the surface of 3I. Each photon, a messenger. Each pixel on a sensor, a clue. The astronomers gathering them are human, fallible, sleepy, hopeful. Some are graduate students, just learning the art of discovery. Some are seasoned veterans who remember Oumuamua with a thrill. All are caught in the same quiet spell. They are staring at something from another world. And perhaps you, lying in your bed, listening, are staring at the inside of your eyelids, imagining yourself there. Sitting at console, watching faint dots of light, realizing you are among the first humans to glimpse a traveller from the stars. Weeks passed, the orbit was refined, its path confirmed. It would sweep near the sun, arc outward, and vanish forever into the depths of space. A brief encounter, measured in months, never to return. This is what made the urgency so sharp. If we wanted to study it, to know it, we had to act quickly, to catch the fragments of data while we could. For soon it would be gone, beyond the reach of any telescope, beyond the grasp of human understanding. But already within that urgency, within that wonder, there was unease. Because even in the earlier stages, the numbers did not behave. Brightness that pulsed, composition that defied easy categories, a trajectory that bent more than expected. Astronomers smiled for the cameras, gave careful answers to the press, spoke of comets and natural explanations. But privately, in late-night emails and hushed conversations, a question began to form. What if it isn't what we think? And that is where we must pause tonight. In the next chapter, we will explore the initial data itself, the size, the speed, the strange measurements that made 3i Atlas stand apart from every other object we have known. Numbers that, when whispered in conference calls and typed in research papers, seem to tremble with something unspoken, because science begins with data, and sometimes data begins to look back. Imagine an astronomer late at night, hunched over a console staring at columns of numbers on a screen. To most of us, the digits would mean nothing. Strings of magnitudes, right ascensions, declinations, residuals. But to them, these numbers are alive. They speak. They tell the story of an object moving through space. And the story 3 Atlas told was not the one anyone expected. The first measurements focused on its brightness curve, how the object reflected sunlight as it rotated. Normally, asteroids produce smooth, predictable variations. As they spin, their irregular shapes reflect different amounts of light, like a slow lighthouse beam sweeping across the dark. But 3i's brightness curve was different. It pulsed. Not chaotically, but irregularly. Spikes of brightness, sudden dimming, as though the surface was glinting with metallic flashes. One researcher described it as a glittering shard turning in the void. Another said it looked almost rhythmic, as though the object was signalling or breathing. Already it was not behaving like an ordinary comet or asteroid. Next came the estimates of size. From its brightness alone, scientists calculated it to be somewhere between 60 and 120 metre across, about the length of a football field, perhaps a little larger. Not colossal, but large enough to obliterate a city if it struck Earth. For comparison, the Tunguska impactor that flattened 2,000 square kilometres of Siberian forest in 1908 is thought to have been around 50 metres wide. Chelyabinsk, the meteor that exploded over Russia in 2013, was only 20 metres across. 3 Atlas was at least twice that, and perhaps much more. Large enough to remind humanity of its fragility, even if it posed no direct threat. But it was not its size that unsettled astronomers most, it was its speed. The data showed that 3i entered the solar system moving at 26 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. To put that into perspective, that's 170 times faster than a rifle bullet. It could circle the Earth in less than 90 minutes, faster than the International Space Station. In 1 hour, it covers the distance from Earth to the Moon. In a single day, it travels farther than the diameter of the Sun itself. No asteroid bound by the Sun's gravity moves like this. Bound objects orbit in predictable ranges of velocity. This was something else, a traveller from beyond, crossing our system at the speed of exile. Trajectory calculations told the same story. Its orbit was not an ellipse, not a circle, not anything closed. It was a hyperbola, a curve that comes from infinity and returns to infinity. Plotting its inbound direction, astronomers traced it back toward the constellation Sagitta, near the dense starfields of the Milky Way's disk. No parent system could be identified. It may have come from dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of light-years away. Think of that. A fragment of stone flung loose from its birth star long before human civilization began, wandering across eons, finally brushing our awareness in a single fleeting moment. Composition was the next puzzle. Using spectral analysis, splitting the faint light into wavelengths, astronomers expected to see familiar fingerprints. Water ice, carbon, perhaps silicates. And indeed, there were traces of these. But there were also anomalies. The ratios of cyanogen compounds, the balance of carbon monoxide to water, the faint hint of metallic reflection. All were unusual. Not impossible, not alien in themselves, but not what models of comet chemistry predicted either. One researcher described it delicately. It looks like it was formed under conditions we do not yet understand. Another was less cautious. This isn't just another comet, this is a message in chemistry. But perhaps the strangest of all was the outgassing. Ordinary comets, when they near the sun, release jets of vapour, water, carbon dioxide, dust, that form tails. 3IR's atlas should have done the same. And yes, there were signs of sublimation, faint jets, but the pattern was wrong. Instead of symmetrical flows, 3I's jets seemed lopsided, producing small deviations in its path, almost like course corrections, almost like propulsion. When the orbital fits were refined, a slight non-gravitational acceleration emerged, tiny but measurable. It was not consistent with what solar heating alone should produce. It was not enough to claim anything artificial, but it was enough to whisper, enough to remind astronomers of Oumuamua, which had shown a similar unexplained acceleration in 2017, and enough to stir a quiet, uncomfortable question. Are we seeing nature or something else? Numbers alone cannot convey the emotion of discovery. Imagine being there, in the observatories and data centres. Imagine being one of the first to see the discrepancy between predicted and actual position. The first to notice the odd rhythm of the light curve. The first to realise this thing was not quite obeying the rules. A thrill? Yes. But also dread. Because anomalies in astronomy often mean one of two things. Either your instruments are wrong or the universe is stranger than you believed. And in this case, the instruments were working just fine. Let's slow the tempo again to feel the rhythm of the cosmos. Picture Earth itself as a speck of light, moving through the void. Picture the sun as a lantern, surrounded by faint motes of dust and ice. Picture 3 Atlas cutting across this lantern's glow, indifferent, unstoppable. It is not here for us, it does not care we're watching. But still, we measure, because measurement is the only way we can touch the stars. In the weeks that followed its discovery, more telescopes joined in. The Hubble Space Telescope made attempts, though faintness limited what it could reveal. The James Webb Space Telescope, with its infrared instruments, searched for the heat signature of its outgassing. Radio astronomers even pointed antennas toward it, listening, just in case it whispered anything more than reflected sunlight. The object remained silent, but silence too can be unsettling. Publicly, scientists described it as fascinating, a rare chance to study interstellar material. They compared it to Borisov, to Oumuamua. They gave careful interviews. But privately, in messages and late-night calls, the mood was different. The mood was one of unease, because this was the third time, 3 interstellar visitors in just 7 years. Before 2017, none had ever been detected. Were we simply looking harder now, or was something changing? Was the galaxy, for reasons unknown, beginning to send more? To most of the public, 3I was just another news headline, another curiosity. But to astronomers, it was a living riddle. Its numbers did not add up. Its chemistry was strange. Its orbit was nudged. And behind all of this, one question grew louder with each passing night. What if this isn't just a rock? As you drift now, perhaps half asleep, imagine the object itself. A football field of stone and ice glittering with unnatural rhythm, spinning silently as it falls through our system. Imagine its speed, its exile, its indifference. And imagine the scientists awake at 3 a.m. staring at graphs and wondering if they are the first humans to glimpse evidence of something more than nature. Because the data did not stop at odd chemistry or erratic brightness. The real unease came with the first anomaly, the moment the laws of physics seemed to bend, and that is where we will go next. Imagine you are standing in a dark field on a quiet night. Above you, the sky is scattered with countless stars, each one a sun in its own right, each one perhaps surrounded by planets, moons, and debris. To the naked eye, it looks eternal and unmoving, but in truth the sky is alive with motion. Objects drift, spiral, collide, and wander, and every so often, against all odds, something from out there wanders in here. 3 Atlas was not the first, and that is why, to understand its strangeness, we must compare it to its predecessors, those earlier messengers from interstellar space. The first was Oumuamua, discovered in October 2017 by the Pan-STARRS survey in Hawaii. Its name, from Hawaiian, means a messenger from afar arriving first. Oumuamua was unlike anything we had ever seen. It was elongated, perhaps cigar-shaped, perhaps a flat disk. Telescopes could not resolve its true form. It tumbled chaotically, flipping end over end. Most startling of all, it accelerated as it moved away from the sun. Not much, but measurably. Comets sometimes accelerate as ice sublimates, But Oumuamua showed no tail, no outgassing. It was as if some unseen hand had nudged it. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb famously suggested it might even be artificial, a fragment of alien technology, perhaps a light sail pushed by starlight. Most scientists disagreed, offering natural explanations. But still, Oumuamua lingers in memory as the first object to whisper, "What if?" The second was 2I Borisov, discovered in August 2019 by amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov. Unlike Oumuamua, Borisov behaved more like a conventional comet. It displayed a coma and a tail, shedding gas and dust as it approached the sun. But even here, there were surprises. Its chemistry was unusual, with far higher concentrations of carbon monoxide than comets from our solar system. Its proportions of water to cyanide were different too. Borisov looked like a comet, but one born in a very different nursery. Its composition was a signature from another star, another chemistry, another history of planet formation. Where Oumuamua had been mysterious in its behaviour, Borisov was mysterious in its content. And now the third, 3 Atlas. At first glance, it seemed a hybrid. Like Borisov, it showed hints of cometary outgassing. But like Oumuamua, it displayed odd acceleration and strange brightness fluctuations. It combined the mystery of the first with the alien chemistry of the second. 3 objects, 3 anomalies, and each anomaly was different. Think of it like this. Imagine walking along a beach and finding 3 bottles washed ashore from the far ocean. The first contains a note in an unknown language. The second holds sand from a continent you have never seen. The third, uncannily, contains both, a strange message and foreign sand. Would you not begin to wonder if something is trying to tell you something? The context grows stranger still when we consider the timescale. For billions of years, Earth orbited the Sun without ever recording an interstellar visitor, at least none we detected. Then, suddenly in just 7 years, 3 appeared. Why? Is it merely that our telescopes have become sharper, our surveys more complete, that the sky has always held such travellers and we are only now beginning to notice? Or has something changed? Is the galaxy itself stirring, sending more debris, more fragments, more probes? Consider how rare such visitors should be. The interstellar medium is vast, and the density of objects crossing from one system to another is low. Oumuamua's appearance in 2017 was estimated to suggest perhaps 1 such object per year might pass through the inner solar system, but most would be too faint to detect. That we caught it was already improbable. Then Borisov just 2 years later, then Atlas only 5 years after that. 3 in such quick succession almost feels like a pattern, and humans are wired to see patterns, especially when they carry whispers of the unknown. But context is not just about frequency, it is about what these objects mean for our understanding of the universe. When Oumuamua passed, it forced us to accept that some interstellar bodies are not icy comets at all, but something else. Perhaps fragments of rocky planets, perhaps shards of alien worlds, perhaps even remnants of technology. When Borisov passed, it proved that comets are not unique to our solar system, that icy wanderers exist everywhere, born of alien suns, carrying chemistry we had never seen before. And when Atlas arrived, it blended both lessons and added new anomalies. Together, these 3 objects tell us that the galaxy is not empty, it is not sterile, it is full of wandering messengers, fragments of other systems crossing our sky. Each one a sample, a clue, a question. Now let us slow down, soften the edges, and imagine their paths. Picture Oumuamua, a tumbling shard, long and thin, racing past the sun in 2017. Picture Borisov, a glowing comet with a trailing tail, disintegrating slightly as it came and went. Picture 3I Atlas, glittering strangely, pulsing with brightness, as though it carried secrets deeper than stone. 3 different shapes, 3 different chemistries, 3 different puzzles. It is as if the galaxy is offering us samples from a library. Not identical, not even similar, but diverse, complex, irreducible. A reminder that creation is messy, that not all worlds are like ours, that not all matter obeys our expectations. But context also means humility. For every one we have detected, how many have we missed? How many have passed unobserved, faint, unnoticed, slipping silently through the solar system without a trace? It is humbling to imagine that Earth has been circled, brushed, grazed by interstellar debris countless times throughout history, without ever knowing. Only now, with our fragile network of telescopes, are we beginning to glimpse the hidden traffic of the galaxy. Perhaps 3I Atlas is not extraordinary. Perhaps it is ordinary in the sense that interstellar visitors are common, and we are only just waking up to them. But even if so, ordinary in the cosmos is extraordinary to us. And yet, even in this context, 3i stood apart. Umama had one anomaly, acceleration without a tail. Borisov had one anomaly, chemistry beyond our models. 3i had several, acceleration and chemistry, brightness rhythms and unusual jets. It was as though all the strangeness of the first two had been combined in the third. Astronomers began to whisper. Some said it quietly reminded them of a probe, an emissary, a machine. Others said it looked like the ruin of something ancient, the shattered fragment of a once-living world. Publicly, science demanded caution. Privately, imagination stirred. You may be lying in bed now, eyes heavy, drifting with the rhythm of this story. Let yourself imagine 3 messengers, 3 objects, 3 riddles, each one briefly intersecting our solar system, each one impossible to retrieve, each one leaving only data, graphs, and questions. It is a haunting thought, is it not? That the galaxy is not silent but filled with motion. That our solar system is not isolated but crossed by visitors. That Earth, this tiny pale dot, is not as hidden as we once believed. And here lies the deepest context. In cosmic terms, we have just now learned to look up. We have just now gained eyes sharp enough to notice. What else might we see in the years ahead? What else is on its way? But for now, we must return to 3i itself, because context is only the frame. The painting inside is stranger still, for in the weeks after its discovery, as data piled higher, scientists noticed something that did not merely puzzle them, something that seemed to bend the rules themselves, the first true anomaly, the point at which the numbers refused to obey the laws of physics as we know them. Imagine looking at the universe as a grand machine. Every star, every planet, every drifting stone obeys the rules: gravity, motion, thermodynamics. The cosmos is vast, yes, but it is reliable, predictable, calculable. That is why astronomy is possible, because the heavens move in order, like gears turning in an infinite clock. But every now and then the gears skip. Every now and then something happens that doesn't fit, and when that happens, astronomers feel a chill, because the rules are all we have. If the rules break, so does our certainty. For 3 Atlas, the first anomaly came quietly, in numbers, in the subtle difference between where it should be and where it actually was. When telescopes first locked onto it in June 2024, astronomers began running orbit calculations. This is standard practice. You measure its position against the background stars, you repeat the measurement night after night, and soon you can predict where it will be tomorrow, next week, next month. For a while, predictions matched observations. The numbers were precise, but then small discrepancies appeared. Tiny at first, fractions of an arcsecond, then larger. By July, the gap was undeniable. 3i Atlas was not following the path gravity alone demanded. It was drifting subtly but consistently. The first explanation was simple: outgassing. Comets do this all the time. As sunlight warms the surface, jets of vapor and dust erupt, acting like miniature thrusters, pushing the body slightly off course. But the jets of 3i were strange. They were not symmetrical, not consistent. They flickered, sometimes appearing on the sunlit side, sometimes not. The acceleration was there, yes, but not in the direction expected. The deviation was not random, it was patterned, almost deliberate. Pause for a moment and feel what that means. Gravity is absolute. It does not falter. Every stone in the solar system obeys it with unquestioning loyalty. To see something disobey, even slightly, is like watching an apple fall upward from a tree. It unsettles. It whispers. Something else is at work here. The anomaly was small, only millimeters per second of acceleration. But in space, even millimeters accumulate. Over weeks they grow into kilometers. Over months, into thousands of kilometers. It meant that predictions could no longer be trusted. The cosmic machine had slipped a gear. The second anomaly was brightness. Earlier observations had already shown 3i flickering in irregular pulses, as though it were tumbling with reflective surfaces. But as weeks passed, the flickering seemed to tighten into rhythm. Astronomers recorded peaks of brightness occurring in a near-regular cycle, about every 16 hours. Not exact, but close enough to raise eyebrows. Was it rotation? Perhaps. But the curve was sharper, more abrupt than most natural tumblers. One observer described it like a mirror catching sunlight, flashing then vanishing. If you were cynical, you'd call it noise. If you were bold, you might call it a signal. The third anomaly was chemical. Spectroscopy revealed traces of unusual compounds, cyanogen bands stronger than expected, metallic reflections inconsistent with known cometary material. Some spectra hinted at magnesium silicates in ratios that defied models of natural formation. The more light astronomers gathered, the more it seemed to whisper of unfamiliar chemistry. Chemistry not seen in our system. Chemistry that might belong to rocks formed under another kind of sun. This was, in itself, thrilling. But coupled with the trajectory and the brightness rhythm, it deepened the unease. Because anomalies are rarely polite enough to appear one at a time. They come in clusters like threads of a hidden tapestry. And soon you begin to wonder what picture they are weaving. By August 2024, private discussions among astronomers took on a different tone. Publicly, they spoke of comets, outgassing, natural variation. But in closed-door meetings, late-night video calls, encrypted messages, another word began to appear: artificial. No one wanted to say it aloud. The ridicule would be too great. Oumuamua had already divided the community between those who clung to natural explanations and those who whispered of technology. Few wanted to reopen that wound, and yet the numbers didn't care about reputations, they only told their story. 3 Atlas was moving like no comet should. Imagine for a moment that you're one of those astronomers. It is late at night, your desk is cluttered with empty coffee cups, your computer screen glows with graphs. You plot the residuals, the tiny differences between predicted and observed position. They should scatter randomly meaningless noise, but instead they line up, a pattern. Your stomach tightens, you recalculate, the pattern remains. You close your eyes, rub your temples, whisper to yourself, it can't be artificial, it can't. But a part of you, the part that still remembers staring at the stars as a child, feels a thrill of forbidden wonder. What if it is? The anomaly grew clearer as the object neared perihelion, the closest point to the sun. Outgassing should have increased dramatically. It did not. Instead, the brightness surged in sharp bursts, almost like beacons. Telescopes caught momentary glints, brief, intense flashes, brighter than the rest of the curve. They could be explained as ice patches catching sunlight. They could be explained as noise, but explanations felt thinner and thinner. At conferences, scientists presented cautious slides. They said, unusual behavior, requires further study, non-standard. They smiled for the cameras. But behind closed doors, whispers grew. What if it's not natural? What if it's something else? And here is where context deepens the dread. If it were only 3I, perhaps it could be dismissed. But Oumuamua too had shown unexplained acceleration. Borisov too had shown strange chemistry. 1 anomaly may be error, 2 may be coincidence, but 3, in such short succession, begins to look like a trend. 3 bottles on the shore, 3 riddles in the sand. Let's step back. Breathe. Picture the night sky again, calm, endless, indifferent. Stars above you like grains of salt scattered on black velvet. Between them, silence. In that silence, 3 times in 7 years, objects have crossed our sky carrying anomalies. And now the latest whispers with brightness, with chemistry, with motion that does not obey. Astronomy is not supposed to feel like horror. It is supposed to feel like discovery, like wonder. And yet, for those awake at 3 a.m., staring at graphs that won't behave, there is another feeling too. A feeling that perhaps we are being observed. Or worse, that perhaps we are stumbling across things meant to remain hidden. Because what if the anomaly is not error? What if the anomaly is intent? By September 2024, the data was undeniable. 3I Atlas was accelerating in a way no comet should. Its brightness curve suggested sharp, mirror-like reflections. Its chemistry hinted at unfamiliar origins. The first anomaly had grown into 3, and behind them all, a question that science alone could not answer. As you drift now, letting your body relax, your mind perhaps floating between wake and dream, imagine lying on your back beneath the stars. Somewhere above, a fragment of another world is passing through, glittering strangely, bending the rules of physics. You cannot touch it, you cannot stop it, you can only watch and wonder, but soon, even wonder would not be enough. Because the explanations scientists reached for began to collapse one by one. Each theory proposed, each hypothesis tested, broke against the stubbornness of the data. Science itself began to falter, and that is where our story turns next. When faced with an anomaly, scientists do not leap to conclusions. They build hypotheses, they test them, stretch them, bend them until they break. Only then, reluctantly, do they admit defeat. With 3 Atlas, the anomalies were piling up. Non-gravitational acceleration, rhythmic brightness changes, odd chemistry. But the scientific mind resists the extraordinary. If there is a natural explanation, it must be sought first. And so, in the summer of 2024, the astronomy community produced 3 main theories. Theory 1, outgassing comet. The first explanation was the most obvious. 3I was simply a comet, an icy fragment, venting vapour as it neared the sun. Jets of gas would act like thrusters, altering its path. Irregular jets could even explain the erratic acceleration. This theory was comforting. We'd seen it before. Borisov had been a comet. Countless others in our own system behaved the same way. Why should this visitor be different? But the evidence was stubborn. Yes, there were faint jets, but not enough. The level of acceleration exceeded what the observed sublimation could explain, and the direction of thrust often pointed wrong, not away from the sun as it should, but sideways, even inward at times. Imagine standing on a frozen lake pushing yourself with a stick. You should slide backward, away from the push, but instead, 3I slid sideways, unpredictably, as if the stick were moving of its own accord. The comet theory held on for weeks, repeated in press releases, interviews, cautious papers, but under scrutiny it began to fray. Theory 2, fragmented object. The second theory proposed that 3I was not a single body at all, but a loose cluster of fragments, held together only weakly. As sunlight struck, smaller pieces could break away, causing shifts in brightness and momentum. This could explain the flickering light curve, different fragments reflecting differently. It could also explain the erratic acceleration, tiny break-offs acting like recoil. Astronomers ran models. They simulated a rubble pile drifting through space, breaking into shards. Some results fit the data. For a time, this seemed plausible. But then came new images. High-resolution observations suggested 3I remained intact. No large debris cloud, no secondary fragments trailing behind. The object was singular, coherent. Whatever was causing the deviations, it was not disintegration. The fragment theory collapsed. Theory 3, exotic chemistry. The third explanation went deeper into the alienness of its composition. Perhaps 3I carried exotic ices, supervolatiles that sublimated more vigorously than those common in our system. Carbon monoxide, molecular hydrogen, nitrogen. If its surface was rich in such material, even faint heating could trigger jets strong enough to push it. That could explain the extra acceleration, and the unfamiliar chemistry seen in its spectra supported this idea. For a time, this theory offered hope. It kept the object safely within the realm of nature, if only an unfamiliar kind of nature. But problems arose again. Supervolatiles would produce visible tails, dramatic jets. 3I's emissions were faint, inconsistent, often absent. And the brightness pulses, sharp, mirror-like, remained unexplained. Chemistry could account for thrust, but not for rhythm. Once again, the theory bent and began to break. The press conferences. Publicly, the debate looked calm. NASA issued cautious statements. ESA released orbital plots. Astronomers gave interviews to magazines, smiling thinly as they spoke of interesting outgassing models and valuable comparative studies. But beneath the surface, the community was uneasy. Each theory patched one hole in the data only to tear open another. Each solution explained one anomaly, but failed against the others. Imagine being asked to solve a puzzle where every piece changes shape the moment you place it. That was the challenge of 3I, the human element. Science is not only data, it is people, and people carry emotion. Some astronomers clung desperately to the comet theory. They feared the ridicule of suggesting anything else. They had lived through the Oumuamua debates, when whispers of alien technology drew both attention and scorn. They did not want to repeat that circus. Others grew quietly bolder. They remembered Oumuamua's unexplained acceleration, Borisov's chemistry, and now Atlas's strangeness. They saw not 3 isolated cases, but a pattern emerging. A sequence, a progression. Emails leaked. Private conversations hinted at unease. A few younger researchers dared to speak the unspeakable in closed forums. What if it isn't natural? But in public, silence, caution, respect for the boundaries of orthodoxy. The broader context. The mainstream explanations reflected more than just scientific caution. They reflected human psychology. We crave safety. To say it is a comet is to keep the universe orderly, understandable. To say it is not a comet is to step into darkness, into possibility, into fear. But the universe does not bend to comfort. It only tells its truth. A moment to breathe. Let us pause here and breathe together. Imagine lying back beneath the night sky, the kind of sky far from cities, clear and quiet. The stars above are fixed, eternal. You feel small, but also calm. The earth turns slowly beneath you. The universe waits. Against that vast silence, think of the astronomers in their observatories scrambling for answers. Think of their unease, their late nights, their restless minds. The sky you see above is peaceful, but in their data, it was beginning to look chaotic. The cracks in certainty. By September 2024, none of the mainstream theories held. Outgassing could not explain the acceleration. Fragmentation could not explain the intact body. Exotic chemistry could not explain the rhythmic flashes. Science had done its duty. It had tried every natural explanation, and each had failed. The cracks were widening, certainty was crumbling, and in those cracks speculation waited. Science thrives on order, on predictability, on the idea that the universe can be measured, modelled, understood. But here, in the case of 3I Atlas, order was slipping. The object did not behave, the theories did not hold. And astronomers began to face the unspoken truth. If science cannot explain, perhaps we must look elsewhere. As you drift now, perhaps half asleep, imagine that moment. A discipline proud of its rigour confronted with failure, a puzzle refusing to yield, an object, alien in origin, whispering riddles across the dark. The mainstream explanations had been tried, they had failed, and so, reluctantly, we must turn the page to speculation. Science is like a fortress. Strong walls of logic, towers of data, gates guarded by peer review. But sometimes, under pressure, cracks appear. Theories buckle. The walls tremble. By late 2024, with 3I Atlas racing through the solar system, those cracks were widening. The mainstream explanations had been proposed: outgassing, fragmentation, exotic chemistry. But as weeks passed, the data itself began to pull them apart. Tonight, we walk through those cracks. We examine why each theory failed, and why in their failure the mystery of 3I only deepened. Outgassing collapses. At first, the comet explanation looked safe. Outgassing was the known culprit for non-gravitational acceleration. But as more data came in, the math stopped working. Comets accelerate in predictable ways. The jets point away from the sun, pushing the body outward. But 3I's acceleration was irregular. Sometimes sideways, sometimes inward, sometimes absent altogether. To match the observed trajectory shifts, the object would have needed jets of extraordinary power. But the visible evidence didn't match. No strong coma, no large tail. At times, 3I looked bare, almost inert, and yet still it moved. Astronomers at the European Southern Observatory ran simulations. Even under extreme assumptions, exotic ice compositions, hidden vents, rotating jets, the models could not replicate the actual path. One researcher summed it up in a quiet conference call. If it's a comet unlike any we've ever known. And if it's not a comet, he didn't finish the sentence. The fragmentation dead end. The second theory was that 3I was breaking apart. A rubble pile crumbling as it tumbled through space. Loose fragments could explain flickering brightness and unexpected momentum shifts. But telescopes told a different story. High-resolution imaging from Chile's Very Large Telescope found no secondary fragments, no debris cloud. Hubble's faint captures showed a solitary body. It was intact. Whatever it was holding together. And the brightness curve argued against fragmentation. The flashes were too sharp, too regular, like mirrors glinting. Shards of rubble do not glitter in rhythm. They scatter light randomly, chaotically. The rubble theory had promised comfort. This is not strange, just fragile. But in the silence of the data, fragility was nowhere to be found. 3I was whole, it was stubborn, and it kept shining with that haunting, glittering pulse. The exotic chemistry excuse. The third theory leaned on the unknown. Perhaps 3I carried unusual ices, supervolatiles never common in our solar system. If so, faint heat could trigger powerful thrusts. That would explain its deviations. For a time, this seemed reasonable. After all, Borisov had shown alien chemistry. Why not Atlas? But then came the contradictions. Supervolatiles like nitrogen or carbon monoxide leave fingerprints, bright tails, clear spectral lines. 3I's traces were faint, inconsistent. whispering of strangeness without fully revealing it, and chemistry alone could not explain the brightness pulses. Natural ice does not flash like mirrors on a 16-hour rhythm. Natural ice does not shine like a beacon. One astronomer wrote in frustration, "We can invoke exotic chemistry forever, but at some point exotic becomes absurd." The chemistry explanation bent until it snapped. The rhythm problem. What disturbed astronomers most was the light curve, the way 3i brightened and dimmed. Rotation should have produced a smooth sine wave, a natural tumble, but 3i's light behaved differently. Sharp spikes, sudden drops, almost mechanical in pattern. The rhythm was not perfect. It drifted, varied slightly like an imperfect clock, but it was regular enough to gnaw at certainty. Rotation? Yes. But rotation of what? A shard of rock with flat reflective surfaces or something else? Theories stretched. Perhaps 3i had facets of reflective ice, polished by cosmic rays. Perhaps it was elongated, tumbling in complex ways, but no model truly matched. The rhythm remained, like a whisper from the dark. The silence between explanations. By autumn 2024, the explanations were unravelling, and with them came silence. In public, scientists stuck to careful words. Unusual, peculiar, requires more study. In private, they admitted their unease. One astronomer, quoted anonymously, confessed, "We have 3 interstellar objects on record, and every one of them is strange. If this is coincidence, it's the strangest coincidence I've seen in my career." The fortress of science was holding, but only barely. The emotional toll? Imagine the scientists themselves. You're a graduate student staring at residual plots. Your advisor tells you it's just noise, but the pattern keeps staring back. You're a postdoc calculating sublimation rates. No matter how you tweak the inputs, the numbers don't fit. You are a senior astronomer, weary from decades of careful work, knowing your reputation rests on restraint. And yet, deep inside, you feel it. The chill of something you cannot name. The data piles up. The theories fail. You begin to wonder if the universe has just tapped you on the shoulder, whispering, "Look closer." The ghost of Oumuamua. The shadow of 2017 hung heavy. Oumuamua had split the field, one camp insisting on natural origins, another daring to whisper of alien technology. The scars of that debate had not healed. Careers had been bruised, reputations tarnished. Now, with 3i, the same fissures opened again. And yet this time the anomalies were sharper, clearer, harder to dismiss. It was as if the cosmos itself was doubling down. First a mystery shard, then a strange comet. Now something that blended both, an added rhythm. 3 bottles on the shore, 3 riddles in succession. The crumbling fortress. The process of debunking was painful. Each mainstream explanation was weighed, tested, and found wanting. The fortress of science stood, but its walls were cracked. And cracks let in more than doubt, they let in speculation. When every natural cause has failed, what remains? A calm interlude. Before we cross that threshold, let us pause. Take a breath. Imagine yourself once more beneath the stars, the night quiet around you. The air cool, the earth steady. Above, the same sky our ancestors looked upon, believing it eternal, fixed, divine. Now imagine that sky shifting just slightly. Not with meteors or satellites, but with something deeper. An object drifting that should not drift, shining that should not shine, accelerating when it should not move at all. Science has explained so much, but here the explanations falter, and in the silence that follows, the mind begins to wander. The whisper of speculation. By November 2024, the community faced a quiet reckoning. Outgassing? Failed. Fragmentation? Failed. Exotic chemistry? Failed. Theories debunked, confidence shaken. Astronomers did what they always do, they gathered more data, kept their words cautious. But in the background, whispers grew louder. If not nature, then what? This was the turning point. The moment when science, stretched to its limits, began to give way. The moment when speculation, carefully, reluctantly, stepped into the light. As you rest now, perhaps close to sleep, let the thought drift with you. The fortress of science has cracks. In those cracks, the unknown waits. 3IO Atlas had resisted every natural explanation. And so, with hesitation, we must cross the boundary. From here we leave the safety of science and step into speculation. Before we step deeper into the unknown, let us pause. The data has been unsettling. The theories have collapsed. But not every story must accelerate into fear. Sometimes the most important part of the journey is stillness. So tonight, let us drift together. away from the frenzy of calculations, away from the anxious debates of scientists, away from speculation itself. Let us lie quietly beneath the stars and simply look up. The stillness of the sky. The night sky from Earth is deceptively calm. Constellations hang where they have hung for millennia. Orion still raises his belt. Cassiopeia still reclines in her chair. The Great Bear still prowls above the northern forests. The stars seem eternal, unchanging. A child in ancient Babylon, a monk in medieval China, a shepherd in Greece. All would have seen the same patterns you see now. And yet, in truth, nothing is still. Every star is in motion. Every system is drifting. The Milky Way itself is a great carousel, 1 billion suns circling its centre every 200 million years. But from our small vantage, it feels fixed, stable, safe. This illusion of stillness is a gift, a balm. It lets us breathe. The scale of smallness. Now imagine Earth from above. Our planet spins gently, a blue marble wrapped in clouds. Lights glow faintly on the night side. Cities, fragile constellations of human creation. From just a few thousand kilometers up, Earth looks serene. From the moon's distance, it is delicate. From Mars, it is a star. From Jupiter, invisible to the naked eye. We are small. So small that even an interstellar object 100 meters wide crossing our neighborhood feels enormous. But in truth, it too is tiny, a fleck of dust in the ocean of the galaxy. To know our smallness is not despair. It is peace. A reminder that the universe is vast enough to hold all mystery, all possibility, without demanding we understand it all at once. The music of motion. Close your eyes and listen, not with ears, but with imagination. The planets are moving. Mercury racing closest to the sun, Venus glowing in her clouded veil, Earth spinning beneath your feet. Mars waits, red and cold. Jupiter hums with storms, Saturn with rings. Uranus rolls sideways, Neptune whispers at the edge. Beyond them, the Kuiper belt drifts like frozen music. Tiny worlds orbit in silence. Some collide, some are nudged outward, some fall inward. And farther still, the Oort cloud. Millions of icy bodies surrounding the sun like a vast unseen halo. Here is where comets sleep for eons, waiting to be disturbed, waiting to fall toward the light. Some are nudged into our sky, others are ejected entirely, cast into the dark between stars. Some may wander forever, like through the atlas, until chance brings them into the awareness of another species on another world. It is not chaos, it is music. Slow, patient, unhurried. A rhythm so vast it feels like silence. The perspective of time. Consider this. The light you see tonight has travelled across years, centuries, millennia. Some stars may already be dead, their light still en route. Others are being born, hidden in clouds of dust, not yet visible. Our lifespans, brief as sparks, cross only a fragment of this endless story. We are here for a moment, then gone. But the cosmos continues. It always continues. Even 3i Atlas, strange as it is only a traveller passing through. Its anomalies may disturb us, but they are temporary. It will vanish again into the dark. The sky will remain. This too is comforting. Nothing is permanent, not even unease. The human thread. Now return to Earth. Imagine a human moment. Someone standing outside their home on a quiet night. A teacher in Tokyo. A farmer in Kenya. A nurse in Buenos Aires after a long shift. They all tilt their heads back to the same sky. They do not think of anomalies, of acceleration curves, of chemistry. They see the moon, perhaps a planet shining brightly, perhaps a shooting star. For them, the night is beauty, not puzzle. And perhaps that is the wiser view, to let the sky be what it is, an endless canopy, silent and steady, reminding us of our place. Astronomers may wrestle with mysteries, but for the rest of us, it is enough simply to look up. The dream of sleep. You, listening now, may feel your body grow heavier. The rhythm of your breath has slowed. Your heart beats softly, steadily. The story drifts like background music, words fading into sensation. This is the gift of the sky. It pulls us outward, only to return us inward. It shows us immensity, then reminds us of comfort. We do not need to solve the galaxy tonight. We do not need to hold all the questions. It is enough to rest, to dream, to let the mind float among the stars, weightless, without fear. The whisper beneath calm, and yet, because the universe is generous, the The calm is never complete. Beneath the stillness there is always motion. Beneath the silence, whispers. 3i Atlas continues its path. Even now, as you listen, it moves. Faster than bullets, faster than spacecraft, faster than thought. It is already past the orbit of Mars. Soon it will approach the Sun, swing by, and vanish outward. Its anomalies remain. They have not gone away. But for this moment, we do not need to chase them. We only acknowledge something strange is passing. And then we breathe again, returning to wonder. Let us return to where we began, lying beneath the stars, eyes half closed, feeling both small and infinite. Yes, there are riddles. Yes, there are anomalies. But above all, there is wonder. That we can see it all. That we can measure, calculate, question. That we exist here, at this fragile moment, with minds capable of curiosity. The galaxy does not owe us answers, but it offers us beauty. That is enough, at least for tonight. The road ahead, because tomorrow curiosity will rise again. Scientists will return to their data, they will sharpen their arguments, they will push their theories, and when all the safe explanations fail, they will be forced to ask the dangerous question. If not natural, then what? That question waits just beyond the horizon, but not tonight. Tonight we rest. Closing calm. Breathe in, breathe out. The stars have been here long before you. They will be here long after. You're a fleeting thought in an endless story, and that is beautiful. 3i Atlas passes silently, indifferent. The sky remains, the earth turns, and you, safe, small, human, drift gently into sleep. Science has rules. It begins with observation, builds with data, strengthens with repetition. It resists leaps. It resists the unknown. But sometimes the data itself opens a door. And when the door is open, even science must admit, there is more beyond. With 3i Atlas, we have reached that door. We have measured its speed, its brightness, its chemistry. We have tested the comet theory, the fragmentation theory, the exotic chemistry theory. And each one has failed. We stand now at the edge of certainty. From here, if we continue, we must leave the safety of science. We must step into speculation. The threshold. Imagine yourself walking down a long hallway of stone. Along the walls are carvings of Newton, Kepler, Galileo, great minds who laid the rules of motion, of gravity, of the sky. The air smells of dust, of old books, of certainty. At the end of the hall is a door. It is slightly open. A faint wind blows from the gap, cool, unfamiliar, carrying scents you cannot name. Behind you, the hall feels safe. Before you, the door feels dangerous, but you know you must step through. This is where astronomy found itself with 3i Atlas. The pattern of visitors. It was not just this one object, it was the sequence. Oumuamua in 2017. Elongated, tumbling, accelerating without a tail. Borisov in 2019. A comet, yes, but with chemistry unknown in our system. Atlas in 2024. Glittering, pulsing, accelerating irregularly, resisting explanation. 3 anomalies in 7 years, 3 bottles on the shore of an infinite ocean. Coincidence, perhaps, but if not coincidence, then what? The silence of certainty. In public, scientists remained cautious. They spoke of unusual dynamics, of non-standard outgassing. Their words were careful, precise, wrapped in the armour of restraint. But in private, in late-night calls, in encrypted messages, the mood was different. They had reached the edge of their fortress. The walls of explanation were crumbling, and beyond the breach shadows stirred. What if it's artificial, someone whispered. The words hung heavy, dangerous. To suggest it was to risk reputation, funding, credibility. And yet, in the dark, it was impossible not to think it. The human condition. Human beings do not live on equations alone. We dream, we imagine, we fear. When we see a light in the sky that flickers in rhythm, our minds leap to pattern. When we see a body accelerate in ways we cannot explain, our minds leap to intention. When we see 3 anomalies in succession, our minds leap to story. And perhaps that leap is dangerous. Perhaps it leads us into fantasy. But perhaps sometimes fantasy is the first glimpse of truth. The listener's journey, you, listening now, lying in the quiet of your room, are part of this same story. You have followed the data, the measurements, the failures of theory. You have felt the unease, the wonder, the calm. And now you too stand at the door. The safe explanations are behind us. The unspoken possibilities are before us. Will you step through? The nature of speculation. Speculation is not proof. It is not evidence. It is a lantern held in the dark, casting light a few steps ahead. In the chapters to come, we will hold that lantern. We will ask, could 3i Atlas be a probe? Could it be debris of a lost civilization? Could it be part of a greater pattern? A swarm? A signal? These questions do not replace science, but they rise when science falters. They grow in the cracks of certainty. The emotional shift. Think of the scientists again. For months they lived in numbers, orbital mechanics, photometric curves, chemical ratios. But now, at midnight, alone at their desks, they feel something else. Unease in their stomachs, a whisper in their minds. The data has not only broken theories, it has broken the illusion of control. And when control is gone, imagination takes its place. This is the pivot. From control to wonder, from certainty to speculation, from fortress to wilderness. The wilderness beyond. Let us step through the door now together. Beyond it lies no longer the neat geometry of ellipses and hyperbolas, but the wide forest of possibility. Here shadows loom, here branches whisper, here every rustle might be wind, or might be something watching. It is frightening, yes, but it is also strangely beautiful, because wonder always lives in the wilderness. The voice of the stars. Pause again and imagine lying beneath the night sky. The stars above are silent, but if you listen closely they seem to murmur. Perhaps they are saying, you are not alone. Perhaps they are saying, be cautious. Perhaps they are saying nothing at all, and it is only your heart beating in your ears. But whatever the truth, you feel it. A shift. A sense that the universe is not merely empty space but a stage, and that on this stage something unseen may already be moving. The gentle descent. Do not be afraid, this is not a horror story, this is a lullaby woven from mystery. Yes, the unknown can frighten, but it can also soothe. For what greater comfort than to know the universe still holds secrets? That even now, after centuries of study, the cosmos can surprise us. 3i Atlas is not just a puzzle, it is proof that wonder is alive. The invitation, and so here we are, at the boundary. Science has carried us far. It has shown us data, tested our models, built our fortress, but now the path turns. From here we must accept uncertainty, we must accept imagination, we must ask questions without expecting answers. This is the invitation 3i Atlas offers, to see the universe not only as a machine, but as a mystery. The cliff ahead. In the next chapter we will begin to walk that mystery. We will explore the first great speculation, that 3i is not natural at all, that it is a probe, or a fragment of technology, launched long ago from a civilization we cannot yet imagine. It is a dangerous idea, it may be wrong, it may be folly, but it is worth considering. Because sometimes, in the wilderness of thought, even folly can point toward truth. Closing rest. As you breathe now, slowly, gently, let your body relax. Let your eyes grow heavy. You have walked the long hallway of science. You have stood at the door. Now you rest at its threshold. The wilderness beyond waits, the lantern is ready, but tonight you need only drift. The stars shine overhead. 3i Atlas moves silently on, and the universe keeps its secrets. For now, imagine a message in a bottle, drifting endlessly on the ocean. It does not matter who cast it, or why. It matters only that one day it washes ashore and someone finds it. 3i Atlas may be such a bottle, but the question is, was it cast by accident or by design? The first leap. Speculation begins with a leap. If 3i is not behaving like a natural object, perhaps it is not one. Perhaps it is something else, an artifact, a fragment, a machine. This is not proof, it is not evidence. It is the imagination stepping into the breach left by science. But imagination is not weakness, it is the bridge to possibility. So tonight, let us walk across that bridge. The case for a probe. The first and boldest speculation is this. 3i Atlas is an interstellar probe. Not a spacecraft like Voyager or New Horizons, shining with antennas and instruments, but something older, stranger, simpler. Perhaps a light sail, thin and reflective, catching the faint pressure of starlight. Perhaps a von Neumann probe, a self-replicating seed, drifting until it finds a world to awaken upon. Why might scientists whisper this? Because of the anomalies, acceleration. Outgassing could not explain the shifts, but a sail catching sunlight could. Even faint pressure, multiplied over decades, could account for the drift. Brightness. The sharp pulses looked like reflections from flat surfaces. Ice could do this, but so could metal or engineered panels. Chemistry. Strange ratios might not be natural at all, but the byproducts of construction or degradation over eons. In this light, 3I becomes not a rock but a relic, a messenger launched not by chance but by intent. The case for debris, but there is another possibility. Perhaps it is not a probe at all, but debris, the wreckage of something once greater. Imagine an ancient civilization millions of years ago building fleets of ships. Some failed, shattered, left fragments drifting. Over time, those fragments wandered into interstellar space. Most were lost forever, but one, by chance, has crossed our sky. In this scenario, 3I is not alive, not purposeful. It is a corpse, a ruin, a shard of a machine that once was. The rhythm of its brightness could be the broken spin of wreckage. Its strange chemistry, the remnants of alloys or fuels, weathered by cosmic rays. Its acceleration, the unbalanced push of hollow structures catching sunlight. In this light, 3I is not a messenger but a relic of extinction. Probe versus debris. The two possibilities are different, yet they share something profound. Both suggest artifice. Both suggest 3I is not simply a rock. If it is a probe, it implies intention. Someone, somewhere, launched it. For exploration, for communication, for reasons we can barely imagine. If it is debris, it implies history. Someone, somewhere, built something. It failed. It broke. And now, across eons, its remnants reach us. In either case, the universe changes. We are not the first. We are not alone. The timescales. Pause and consider the timescales. The Milky Way is 13 billion years old. Civilizations may rise and fall in spans of millions. If 3I were launched by intent, it could have been millions of years ago. Its makers may be long extinct. Their stars may have gone cold. If it is debris, it may have been drifting for half the age of the galaxy. Its origin star may be dead, its system destroyed, its builders forgotten. In both cases, it has travelled longer than humanity has existed. Longer than life on land, longer than trees, longer than eyes. And now, here it is. A fragment of a story we were never meant to read. The perspective of scale. Imagine Voyager 1, launched in 1977. It is humanity's first true interstellar emissary. In 40,000 years, it will pass near another star. In 1,000,000, it may wander the galaxy unnoticed. In 1,000,000,000, it may still drift, silent, forgotten. If another civilization were to find it, what would they see? A faint object, strange in trajectory, unusual in composition. A puzzle, a relic. They would not know the names engraved on its golden record. They would not hear the voices of Earth. They would only see the shell of something artificial, stripped by time. To them, Voyager would be what 3I is to us, a bottle on the shore, a whisper from an ocean of silence. The emotional weight. Now feel the weight of that possibility. If 3I is a probe, then right now, above your head, something built by hands not human is passing through our system, a machine older than our species. If 3I is debris, then right now you are alive at the one moment when a fragment of alien ruins brushes our world. Either way, history is watching and you are alive for it. The quiet beauty of speculation. This is speculation, yes, but speculation has its own beauty. It does not demand belief. It only asks us to imagine. Imagine civilizations older than stars scattering their machines into the void. Imagine debris fields drifting between galaxies. Imagine bottles washing ashore one after another, each carrying a fragment of a forgotten story. Perhaps 3I is nothing but ice. Perhaps it is nothing but stone. But if it is more, just if, then tonight, we share a moment of contact with the infinite. The listeners rest. As you listen, let the idea sink softly, not as fear, but as wonder. You are lying on Earth, safe, small, mortal. Above you the galaxy turns. In that turning a single object passes, maybe rock, maybe probe, maybe debris. You do not need to decide, you only need to imagine, to let your thoughts drift outward, carried like sails on a cosmic breeze. Sleep is a kind of speculation too, your mind leaving certainty, wandering into dreams. Tonight your dreams may carry ships, ruins, probes and bottles drifting across the stars, and that is a beautiful thing. The road forward. For now we have only asked the first speculative question, probe or debris, but many more wait ahead. If probe, what kind of civilization could build it? If debris, what kind of catastrophe destroyed it? And if pattern, what larger story do these interstellar visitors tell? Each question opens a new door. Each door leads deeper into the wilderness. But tonight we leave this first door gently open. Probe or debris, alive or dead, messenger or ruin. The stars keep their secrets, and we keep our wonder. Speculation is a mirror. When we ask what 3 Atlas might be, we're also asking what we might one day become. If 3I is artificial, probe or debris, then somewhere, sometime, a civilization had the power to make it. And that realization carries both awe and weight. The scales of civilization. Imagine humanity measured not by flags, or wars, or art, but by energy. How much energy we can command, how much of nature we can bend to our will. This is the vision of the Kardashev scale, proposed by the Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev in 1964. A Type B civilization controls all the energy of its home planet: winds, rivers, sunlight, tectonics. Humanity is not there yet. We are perhaps at 0.7. A Type 2 civilization harnesses the power of its star, perhaps through structures like a Dyson sphere. A Type 3 civilization commands the energy of an entire galaxy. Where then would the builders of 3I fit? The builders of a probe. If 3I is a probe, it suggests foresight. To launch a machine across the void requires planning beyond centuries. It requires building something that can survive eons, endure radiation, collisions, emptiness. A civilization capable of this might be Type 1-5, not yet harnessing its star, but advanced enough to fling machines into interstellar space, or perhaps Type 2, using stellar power to propel sails with beams of light. Their motives might have been curiosity, to scatter seeds of knowledge, to map the galaxy, or survival, to send messages in case they vanished. Or something stranger, a cultural ritual, scattering machines as offerings to the void. Whatever the motive, the implication is this: we are not the first species to look outward with ambition. Others have dreamed, and built, and reached. The builders of debris. If 3I is debris, the story shifts. Here, we imagine not foresight, but aftermath. A fleet that once travelled, now broken. A world that once thrived, now silent. 3I could be a shard of a starship, a fragment of an orbital habitat, a relic torn free by war, disaster, or time. This points not to power, but to fragility. Civilizations rise, they fall. Their machines drift, long after their voices go quiet. In this view, 3I is not a probe of purpose, but a tombstone in motion, a warning carved in orbit, a reminder that the future may not hold endless ascent. The implication is sobering. If they fell, why should we expect to endure? The loneliness of timescales. Whether probe or debris, the timescales are immense. 3I may have launched millions of years ago. Its makers may be gone. Their sons may have died. This means contact, in the literal sense, is unlikely. We are not speaking to neighbours across a fence, but to ghosts across millennia. But even the whisper of their existence changes us. It proves that life can rise to heights we have only begun to imagine, that intelligence can build machines meant to outlast stars. We may be latecomers, but we are not the first. The mirror of humanity. Speculating about alien builders forces us to reflect on ourselves. Could humanity ever send a probe like 3I? Perhaps. Already we have launched Voyager, Pioneer, New Horizons. Fragile, yes, but persistent. In 10,000 years, they will still drift. In 1,000,000, they may still exist. Imagine a civilization 1,000 times older than ours, 1,000,000 times. What would they scatter into the dark? Perhaps 3I is simply what we will one day create ourselves, a machine forgotten by its makers, found by strangers under a different sky. The motives of the makers. If it is a probe, why send it here? Why send it anywhere? Possibilities bloom. Curiosity, to explore, to map, to know. Survival, to spread seeds of knowledge in case of extinction. Communication, to announce presence, to reach across the void. Indifference. Perhaps it was never meant for us, but we happened to cross its path. We cannot know their motives, but the fact of the object itself, the fact that something like it exists, suggests they once had motives, once had dreams, once had the desire to cast their presence into eternity. The shadow of the great filter. But there is a darker implication. If civilizations can build such machines, why have we not seen more? Why is the galaxy not filled with their probes, their beacons, their ruins? Perhaps most civilizations never last long enough. Perhaps they build once and then fall. Perhaps every shard we see, Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas, is not a messenger, but a gravestone. This is the spectre of the great filter. the idea that life may often rise but rarely endure, and that those who scatter machines into the dark may vanish soon after. If 3i is artificial, it may be a reminder that survival is rare, a message not of contact, but of absence, the comfort of wonder. And yet, even in this darkness, there is comfort. Because if 3i is artificial, then we are not alone in the struggle. Others have risen, others have dreamed, others have looked at the stars and felt the same ache we feel now. They may be gone, but their dream lives on, drifting silently through our sky. And that is beautiful, that is enough. The listener's reflection. You listening now, lying in your bed, may feel the weight of these implications. They are vast, almost unbearable. But let them drift gently, like leaves on water. What kind of civilization built 3i? We may never know, but the very act of asking places you in their company. They too once asked. They too once wondered. They too once built. In this way, speculation is not just about them. It is about us. It is about the bridge of wonder that connects all who have ever looked at the stars. The road ahead. We have asked if 3i is probe or debris. We have asked what kind of civilization could build it. In the next chapter, we will turn the question again. Could it be not a machine, but a ruin? Not technology alive, but the fossil of a world that perished long ago. Could 3i be cosmic archaeology, a shard of a civilization buried in time? The possibilities deepen, the questions widen, and the mystery grows. Closing calm. Breathe in, breathe out. The stars above you burn as they always have. 3 Atlas drifts as it always will, and humanity, fragile and curious, continues to ask. The builders may be gone, or they may be watching, but tonight their presence is only a thought in your mind, a story in your dreams. Sleep gently with that thought. You are part of a cosmos filled with builders, dreamers, and ruins, and you are not alone. Archaeology, on Earth, is the study of ruins. We brush away sand to uncover the stones of temples, the bones of ancestors, the fragments of tools. Each shard tells a story of lives once lived, dreams once dreamed, cultures once thriving. Now imagine archaeology on a cosmic scale. Not ruins buried beneath desert dunes, but ruins adrift among the stars. Not fragments of pottery, but fragments of worlds. Could 3i Atlas be such a fragment? Could it be cosmic archaeology? The shards of civilizations. If we accept, even for a moment, that 3i is artificial, then one possibility is this. It is not a probe, not a deliberate messenger, but a piece of something broken. Perhaps a spacecraft, once whole, shattered in the violence of time. Perhaps an orbital station, torn apart by impacts or decay. Perhaps even a piece of a planet itself, a world that once bore life, now reduced to drifting shards. On Earth, we study pottery shards and temple stones. In space, the shards may be metal alloys, reflective panels, fragments of structure worn smooth by radiation and micrometeoroids. The brightness pulses, the irregular acceleration, the strange chemistry, each could be the scar of ruin, the ruins of worlds. Consider Earth's own fragility. If humanity vanished tomorrow, what would remain? Our cities would crumble in centuries, our satellites would fall, our monuments would erode. But some things would endure. Voyager, drifting in the void, pioneer plaques still etched with human figures, radioactive isotopes buried deep in the earth, whispering of our industry. In 1 million years little would remain, in 1 billion almost nothing, but fragments would survive. So too with any other civilization. When they fall, when their stars grow cold, some shards remain. Cast outward, they drift. And sometimes one crosses into the awareness of another world. Perhaps that is 3i, not a machine alive, but a ruin, a fossil from a past we will never know. Fossils of the galaxy. On Earth, fossils remind us of deep time. The bones of dinosaurs tell of ages before us, worlds alien yet terrestrial. They are not alive, but they tell of life. 3i may be the same, a fossil not of biology but of technology. A broken shard whispering that life once rose, once dreamed, once built. If so, then the galaxy itself is a graveyard filled with fossils drifting unseen, each one a relic of a story lost. We may never decode the story, but the presence of the fossil itself is enough to remind us. We are not alone in the history of the cosmos. The archaeologist's dream. Now imagine the archaeologist's perspective. You're not brushing sand from stone. You're peering through a telescope, catching photons from a fragment millions of years old. Each photon is dusted with history. Each spectrum is an artifact. You cannot hold the shard in your hand, you cannot excavate it from soil, but you can read its light, its orbit, its chemistry, its glints. You're practicing archaeology without ruins, excavation without touch. You're digging into time itself. This is what astronomers, in their own way, are doing with 3i. They are the archaeologists of the galaxy, the silence of ghosts. If 3i is ruin, then its makers are gone. This thought is both haunting and oddly comforting. It is haunting because it means civilizations die, even those advanced enough to scatter machines into eternity. It is comforting because it means we're not the only ones to walk that path. Others have existed. Others have dreamed. We may be latecomers, but we are not the first. The galaxy holds ghosts and their ruins still drift. The poetry of debris. Think of a ruined cathedral. Its roof collapsed, its walls cracked, its windows shattered. And yet, even in ruin, it holds beauty. The arches point skyward. The stones whisper of faith and artistry. 3i may be the same, a ruined shard, yes, but even ruin carries poetry, even ruin whispers of what once was. Its glittering pulses may not be signals, but the fractured reflections of broken surfaces. Its chemistry may not be exotic, but the weathered residue of forgotten alloys. Its acceleration may not be propulsion, but the unbalanced drift of wreckage. It is not alive, it is not whole, but it is still beautiful. The perspective of time. Let us pause and consider time again. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Humanity has existed for less than a blink in that span. Civilizations rise and fall in thousands of years. If 3i is ruin, it may be millions of years old. Its makers may have vanished before humanity's first ancestor stood upright. They may have built wonders while Earth was still swamp and fern, and yet through the patience of drifting their shard has arrived here now. Think of the odds. Think of the span. And think of the quiet message hidden in it. Civilizations may fall, but fragments endure. The listener's dream. As you listen now, perhaps close to sleep, imagine walking among ruins not of stone but of stars. Imagine drifting through the void, finding wreckage, fragments of ships, remnants of machines, drifting tombstones of forgotten empires. You cannot speak with them. You cannot know their names, but you can feel their presence. You can sense their scale. This is cosmic archaeology. It is not discovery of life, but discovery of death, and through it, proof that life once was. The dual implication. If 3i's ruin, two implications emerge. First, we are not alone. Life has risen elsewhere, built elsewhere, dreamed elsewhere. Second, survival is fragile. Even the builders of machines that endure for eons may fall. It is both hope and warning. Hope that we are not the only flame to spark in the dark. Warning that flames can go out. The calm in ruin, but let us not end in fear. Ruins too can be peaceful. A ruined temple in a forest, vines winding through stone, is still beautiful. It is not loss, but memory. So too with 3i. If it is ruin, it is a memory, a whisper across time, a reminder that the galaxy has stories deeper than our own, and in that reminder there is comfort. For we are part of something larger than ourselves. The road ahead. We have asked, is 3i a probe alive with intent? Or is it debris dead with history? In the next chapter we will connect the dots. We will see how these anomalies, these possibilities align with each other. We will ask whether they are fragments of one larger pattern. For perhaps 3i is not alone. Perhaps it is part of a tapestry we are only beginning to glimpse. Close and calm. Breathe in, breathe out. You are small, yes, but you are not without connection. Above you, fragments drift. Ruins pass. Probes whisper. The galaxy is old. You are young, and yet, across the gulf, you share the same stage. Sleep gently with that thought. You walk among ruins older than Earth, and they walk, silently, among the stars. Science thrives on fragments. A pixel of light here, a spectrum there, a curve on a graph. Each fragment is meaningless alone, but when combined, they form a picture. 3i Atlas is such a puzzle. Brightness pulses, irregular acceleration, strange chemistry. One dot, then another, then another. Tonight we try to connect them, not with certainty, not with proof, but with the quiet stitching of imagination. The first dot, acceleration. We begin with motion. 3i did not follow gravity's command. Its path drifted subtly as though nudged. The comet theory failed. The fragmentation theory failed. The exotic chemistry theory bent too far. But what if we connect this dot to technology? a light sail catching starlight, a hollow structure pushed unevenly by radiation, a machine drifting with intent. The dot of acceleration begins to resemble propulsion or ruin. The second dot, brightness. Next, we consider the light curve. Its pulses were sharp, mirror-like, repeating on a rhythm near 16 hours. Not perfect, but persistent. Natural tumbling produces smooth variations. This was not smooth. This was glinting. Connect this dot to the first. If the acceleration hinted at panels, the brightness glints hint at surfaces. Flat, reflective, engineered. Or perhaps fractured. Broken, yet still catching the sun like glass in rubble. Two dots connected, a shard glittering or a sail flashing. The third dot, chemistry. The spectrum whispered of alien ratios. Cyanogen bands stronger than expected. Metallic reflections inconsistent with ordinary dust. Natural, perhaps, but unusual, different enough to feel foreign. Connect this dot to the others. Propulsion without fuel, reflections without stone, chemistry without precedent. The picture sharpens. Not nature as we know it. Something different. Something that resists every comfortable category. The fourth dot, context. 3 interstellar objects in 7 years. Oumuamua, anomalous acceleration, Borisov, anomalous chemistry. Atlas, both, plus rhythm. Connect these dots and you see progression, a sequence, a pattern. Coincidence is possible, but coincidence begins to fray when it repeats. 3 bottles on the shore, each carrying a riddle. Perhaps the galaxy is not silent. Perhaps it has always been sending us fragments, and only now, with eyes sharp enough, do we begin to notice. The fifth dot, time. Time is the quietest dot. These objects travel for millions of years. Their makers may be gone, their stars may be dead. But connect this dot, and the picture deepens. If 3i is a probe, its builders were ambitious beyond our comprehension. If debris, they were fragile. Either way, their presence spans ages. This dot reminds us the galaxy is old. Older than us, older than our questions, older than our fears. The emerging picture, acceleration, brightness, chemistry, context, time. Alone, each is puzzling. Together, they form something stranger. A fragment of technology. Perhaps a shard of ruin. Perhaps a pattern of messengers. Perhaps. The dots resist one single image, but they point in one direction, away from comfort, away from the ordinary, away from the safe. The whisper beneath the picture, and when the dots are connected, another whisper emerges, intent. Because anomalies in isolation can be noise, but anomalies aligned become voice. It is as if 3i itself is saying, I am not what you think. The universe rarely speaks so clearly. But sometimes, when patterns align, it feels as if something beyond chance is pressing on the edges of our awareness. 3i may be such a moment, the human response. For scientists, this picture was both thrilling and terrifying. Thrilling, because it hinted at discovery beyond imagination. Terrifying, because it forced them into the wilderness of speculation. Publicly, they spoke of comets. Privately, they connected the dots. They could not help it. Minds seek patterns, and the pattern here was too strong to ignore. What if it is artificial? What if we are seeing ruins? What if we are being watched? The listener's bridge. You too can connect these dots. You have heard of the acceleration. You have heard of the brightness pulses. You have heard of the chemistry, the context, the time. Now let your mind sketch the lines between them. See the emerging picture. Not clear, not sharp, but enough to feel its shape. This is cosmic archaeology. This is cosmic speculation. This is humanity's first attempt to read the galaxy not as silence, but as text. The picture as warning. Perhaps the picture is not hopeful. Perhaps it whispers of fragility, of civilizations that rise, scatter machines and fall. Perhaps every shard we see is not a messenger, but a gravestone. In this view, the dots connect into a caution. Survival is rare. The great filter waits. 3i then is not contact but warning. The picture is hope. Or perhaps the picture is hopeful. Perhaps civilizations scatter probes to map the galaxy. Perhaps ruins drift because someone lived long enough to build them. Perhaps 3i is not a tombstone, but a signature. We were here. And if they were here, so too can we endure. The dots connect into encouragement. We are not alone in dreaming. The calm between interpretations, between hope and warning, lies stillness. The picture is not clear. It may never be. But the act of connecting the dots itself is enough. Because it proves we are looking, it proves we are listening, it proves we are awake. The road ahead, We have now connected the anomalies into a larger picture, but the picture itself raises deeper questions. If 3i is a shard, a probe, or a ruin, what does that mean for us? What if it is not just message, but signal? What if its presence triggers something larger? In the next chapter, we step into darker speculation, into the dark forest, into the possibility that 3i is not a relic but a trigger. Closing calm, breathe in, breathe out. The dots are connected now. The picture shimmers in your mind. It is incomplete, but that is enough. Sleep does not require answers, only wonder. Above you, 3i continues its path. Dots in motion, lines unseen, picture unfinished. The mystery waits. And so do your dreams. Imagine walking through a forest at night. The trees are tall, the air is still, the path is dim. You carry no lantern, you carry no weapon. You know that in the shadows, eyes may be watching. You cannot see them, but they can see you. This is the vision of the dark forest, a theory in cosmology and astrobiology. It asks, if the universe is filled with life, why is it silent? Why do we not see civilizations everywhere, shining like lanterns in the dark? The answer is chilling. Perhaps it is silent because everyone is hiding. The logic of the dark forest. The logic is simple and brutal. Every civilization wants to survive. Every civilization cannot know the motives of others. Therefore, the safest action is to stay silent, or worse, to strike first before another can strike you. In this view, the galaxy is not a friendly village of neighbours. It is a dark forest filled with hunters, each one quiet, each one waiting, each one terrified of being heard. A single shout, a single fire, a single misstep, and you may draw the attention of something far stronger than yourself. 3i Atlas as a trigger. Now imagine 3i Atlas not as a ruin, not as a probe, but as a trigger. Its anomalies are not random, its rhythm is not accident. They are signals, not for us, but for others. What if its glittering pulses are not reflections, but beacons? What if its acceleration is not random, but alignment? What if its presence in our solar system is not chance, but a test? A flare in the dark forest, a spark saying, here, someone is here. Not to us, but to the hunters. The fear beneath silence. For decades, radio astronomers have debated whether humanity should broadcast signals into the cosmos. Some, like Carl Sagan, argued for outreach. Others warned of danger. What if we call out and something answers, not with friendship, but with fire? Now consider, what if someone else already broadcast long ago? What if 3i is their flare drifting across the galaxy, announcing presence? And now, as it passes through our system, it announces ours too. We may not be sending, but by observing, by scattering radar, by releasing curiosity, we may already have answered. The timescale of traps. If 3i is a trigger, it may not matter that its builders are gone. A trap does not require its maker to survive. A snare, once set, may outlive the hunter. Imagine a civilization that scattered millions of triggers into the void, each one designed to awaken, to signal when it encountered a star system with watchers, each one silent until touched, like mines in a battlefield. Now imagine that ours has been touched, that our curiosity has sprung the trap. We would not know, not yet. The signal may already be travelling, the hunters may already be turning their heads. The cold comfort of distance. The stars are far. Even light takes years to travel. Even if 3i is a trigger, its message would take centuries to arrive anywhere. This should comfort us, but does it? Because in the dark forest, patience is infinite. Hunters wait for centuries. They do not hurry, they do not need to. And if a signal has been sent, the countdown has begun. We may not hear the reply, but our descendants might, or their ruins might. The weight of silence. Pause and breathe. The sky above you feels calm, silent, safe. But silence itself may be the warning. The silence of the galaxy may not mean emptiness. It may mean caution. It may mean fear. It may mean that every world is crouched, hidden, terrified of lighting a fire. And we, in our naivety, have lit ours. By building telescopes, by sending probes, by daring to imagine. Perhaps 3i is not anomaly, but consequence. The human response. Think of the astronomers. They did not sign up for this fear. They wanted to measure orbits, to study comets, to map the sky. But now, as the anomalies pile, some whisper the darker possibility. What if it's not a relic? What if it's a signal? What if we've been noticed? The whispers are faint, but they spread. Not in papers, but in thoughts. For once you imagine the dark forest, you cannot unsee it. The listener's place. And now, you too are part of this thought. You're lying beneath the stars, perhaps drifting towards sleep. Above you, the forest stretches, silent, dark, infinite. You cannot see the hunters, you cannot hear them, but perhaps they are there, crouched, waiting. And perhaps three eyes lit a match in the dark. The paradox of wonder. It is easy to feel fear here, but do not let it overwhelm you, for even in the dark forest there is wonder. Because if three eyes a trigger, it means others exist. It means the forest is not empty. It means we are not alone. And even if the hunters are dangerous, the fact of their presence is still profound. It means life is abundant. It means intelligence is not rare. It means the universe is alive with story. Fear and wonder walk hand in hand. The gentle descent. So let us slow again. Breathe, relax. Imagine the forest not as menace, but as mystery. Imagine the hunters not as predators, but as shadows. Imagine the silence not as fear, but as patience. Whether three eyes a trigger or not, you are safe tonight. You are small, yes, but the hunters are far, the signal is faint, the night is calm. The galaxy may be dangerous, but danger too can lull. For what greater cradle than the knowledge that we dream in a living cosmos? The road ahead. We have now stepped into the dark forest. We have imagined Three Eye not as ruin, but as signal. Not as message, but as trigger. But the implications go further still. For if civilization can rise, scatter signals and fall, what stops them? What force sweeps them away? What wall do they strike that we have not yet reached? In the next chapter we ask that darkest of questions. Is Three Eye evidence of the Great Filter? Closing calm. Breathe in, breathe out. The dark forest is quiet, the hunters are unseen, the stars burn overhead indifferent. And you, small and human, drift towards sleep. Your fears soften, your dreams expand. For in the forest of the cosmos, silence is its own lullaby. Why is the universe silent? Why do we not see the stars alive with civilizations, fleets of ships, networks of beacons? Why, when we look outward, do we find only quiet? This is the Fermi paradox, the contradiction between the high probability of life and the absence of evidence. And one possible answer is darker than silence itself. The answer is called the Great Filter, the nature of the filter. The Great Filter is not a wall we see, it is a wall we hit. It is the barrier that stops life from advancing to the stars. It may lie behind us. Perhaps the leap from simple cells to complex life is nearly impossible. Perhaps intelligence itself is rare. Perhaps we are the miracle, the exception, the lucky ones. Or it may lie ahead. Perhaps civilizations rise, build, scatter machines, then fall. Perhaps nuclear fire, ecological collapse, or something worse always arrives. Perhaps the galaxy is littered with ruins because survival is almost impossible. If Three Eye Atlas is debris, if it is ruin, then perhaps it is evidence that the Great Filter is real. The shards as warnings. Think of Three Eye not as message but as monument. A shard glittering in starlight whispering we were here but we are gone. Think of Oumuamua accelerating strangely. Think of Borisov carrying alien chemistry. Think of Atlas combining both. 3 anomalies, 3 riddles, 3 tombstones. Each one a silent warning. Civilizations fall. The silence of the stars is not absence, it is aftermath. The human mirror. Now turn the question inward. If others have fallen, why should we endure? What makes us different? Are we not fragile too? Divided, destructive, short-sighted? The filter may already be forming around us. Climate shifting, weapons multiplying, resources thinning. The same forces that may have undone them may be stirring for us. In this way, Three Eye becomes a mirror. A reminder that intelligence is not immunity, that dreaming of the stars does not guarantee reaching them. The archaeology of extinction. On Earth we walk among fossils of failure. The trilobites once dominant, now gone. The dinosaurs, rulers of their age, reduced to bones in stone. Countless species once thriving, now vanished forever. Why should civilizations be different? Perhaps they too have their extinction layers. Perhaps the galaxy itself has strata of ruin. Eras of life rising, scattering fragments, then dying. And perhaps Three Eye is one such fossil, a piece of a layer of extinction. The whisper of dread. Imagine being an astronomer who dares to think this. You plot the orbit. You see the anomalies. And then, in the quiet of your office, the thought comes, this is not a probe. This is not a messenger. This is evidence of death. You close your eyes. You feel the chill. Because if others could fall, why not us? If they could scatter machines that survive for eons and still vanish, then what chance do we have? The Great Filter becomes not theory, but shadow. A shadow that stretches from them to us. The listener's place. And you, listening now, are part of this same shadow. You're lying in your room, safe, breathing, alive. But above you, fragments drift, whispering of ruin. It is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to remind you that life is fragile, that survival is not guaranteed, that every moment is precious. The great filter is not only dread, it is also gratitude. Gratitude for being here, now, alive, in a moment when wonder is still possible. The hope within the filter. But let us not surrender to despair. Because the great filter, if real, has another face. It means that we are rare, that life advanced to this stage against impossible odds, that we may be unique in the galaxy, and uniqueness is precious. It means our survival matters more than we can imagine. It means we're not just one species among billions, but perhaps the only torchbearers of consciousness in this corner of the cosmos. If the filter lies behind us, we are the miracle. If the filter lies ahead, we are the test. Either way, the implication is the same. What we do matters. The calm of perspective. Pause here, breathe. Imagine the galaxy again as a forest, dark and silent. In this forest, perhaps most sparks are extinguished, but tonight yours is burning. Small, fragile, but burning. The filter may be real, the ruins may be many, but for this moment you exist, and that is enough. The dual lessons. 3i if ruin teaches two lessons. First, civilizations can fall. The filter is not fiction. Second, fragments endure. Memory survives. Even in ruin, a shard drifts, whispering across millions of years. This duality is profound. We may fall, but something of us may drift on. Perhaps one day, a fragment of Earth, a shard of Voyager, will brush another world's sky, and they will wonder as we do now. The filter may silence voices, but it cannot silence fragments. Ruins are the galaxy's true language. The road ahead. We have now faced the darkest implication, that 3i may be evidence of the great filter, a shard of extinction, a whisper of doom. But the story does not end here, because speculation can go darker still, beyond ruins, beyond filters, beyond hunters in forests. What if the very laws of reality are shifting? What if 3i is not artifact, not fossil, but harbinger? Evidence that the universe itself is unstable, changing, rewriting its own rules. In the next chapter, we will walk into that strangeness, into the idea of silent invasions, nanotechnologies, and physics itself bending, into the possibility that 3i is not ruin, but intrusion. Closing calm. Breathe in, breathe out. Yes, the great filter is heavy, but do not carry its weight to fear. Carry it to wonder, to gratitude, to resolve. The stars are silent. The ruins are drifting. But tonight, you are alive, dreaming, listening. You are part of the fragile flame. Guard it, cherish it, and sleep gently, knowing that even in ruin, beauty endures. What if 3i Atlas is not simply a rock, not simply a ruin, not even a probe? What if it is something stranger, something we do not yet have the language to describe? What if its arrival is not just an observation, but an event? The invasion that isn't loud. When we think of invasion, we imagine fire and thunder. Starships descending, skies burning, cities crumbling. We imagine war. But the most effective invasions are not loud. They are quiet, invisible, unnoticed until it is too late. A virus does not announce itself when it enters a body. It waits, replicates, spreads. By the time symptoms appear, the host is already changed. What if 3i is such a virus, scaled not to bodies but to civilizations, seeds in the dark? Imagine 3i not as machine or ruin, but as seed. Perhaps its strange chemistry is not random, but design, nanostructures encoded with information, waiting for light, waiting for contact, waiting for curiosity. Perhaps its glittering pulses are not reflections, but data streams, carrying patterns invisible to our eyes, meant to be absorbed by instruments, decoded by minds. Perhaps in studying it, in scanning it, in bouncing radar off its surface, we have already awakened it. Not awakened in space, but awakened here, within us. Like pollen inhaled, like code executed, like a whisper that rewrites thought. The drift of contamination. Consider panspermia, the idea that life itself may spread by rocks and dust drifting between stars. Microbes frozen in comets, carried across gulfs, seeding new worlds. Now imagine a higher form of panspermia, not biology, but technology. Self-replicating codes embedded in matter. Machines at the scale of molecules. Viral seeds drifting through galaxies waiting to find hosts. If 3i is such a seed, then its invasion has already begun, not with ships but with dust, not with armies but with particles too small to see. They may already be falling into Earth's atmosphere, invisible snow from an alien storm. They may already be entering oceans, soils, lungs, and we would not know, not yet. The shift of laws, but the speculation deepens further, because the anomalies of 3i are not only about matter, they're about motion. Its acceleration defied gravity, its brightness pulsed with rhythm, its chemistry bent models. What if the anomaly is not the object at all? What if the anomaly is reality? Imagine that the laws of physics are not absolute. Imagine that they are pliable, fragile, capable of being nudged. Perhaps advanced civilizations learn not only to build machines, but to rewrite the stage upon which machines exist. If so, then 3i may not be a visitor, it may be a needle stitching a new thread of law into our universe. We see it as rock. But what if it is the edge of a change, like the first ripple of a tide, subtle, almost invisible, yet carrying the force of oceans behind it? The quiet horror. This is the horror. That invasion may not look like invasion. That change may not look like change. That the end may not look like the end. We may not see fleets. We may not hear signals. We may not face war. We may only notice anomalies. Small, strange, persistent. A rock that flickers, a trajectory that drifts, a chemistry that resists. We call it comet. We call it ruin. We call it probe. But perhaps those words are only shadows grasping at something vaster. Perhaps we're already inside the event, unable to step out and see its shape. The mirror of imagination. Some will say this is fantasy, that it stretches too far, and they are right. It does stretch. It must. For imagination is the mirror we hold to the unknown. When the data breaks, the mirror reflects possibilities, and in those possibilities we see not certainty but potential. The potential that 3i is not passive, the potential that we are not observers but participants, the potential that the universe itself may not be fixed but fluid. The listener's place. You lying here listening may feel unease. That is natural, but do not let it harden into fear. For what greater lullaby than to realize we live in a cosmos not of stone, but of story, that the universe is alive with possibilities stranger than fiction. If 3i is seed, then you are soil. If 3i is virus, then you are host. If 3i is needle, then you are thread. And yet you're safe, small human drifting into sleep. The invasion, if it is real, is slow. It is vast. It is cosmic. You need not resist. You need only dream. The fragility of certainty. Remember, once we believed the Earth was the center of the universe. Once we believed the stars were fixed in crystal spheres. Once we believed the cosmos was eternal, unchanging. Each time certainty broke, each time reality shifted. Why should this be different? Why should we assume the laws we know are final? Perhaps 3i is not anomaly. Perhaps it is teacher. Perhaps it is saying the universe is stranger still. The road to the worst case. Speculation builds like waves. First, the probe, then the debris, then the ruin, then the trigger, then the filter, and now the silent invasion, the shifting of laws. Each wave rises higher, darker, heavier, and one more waits. For if these whispers are true, if these speculations align, then the worst case is not just invasion, not just extinction, not just shift. The worst case is coherence, that all the nightmares are part of one story. In the next chapter, we will face that coherence, the worst case scenario, closing calm. But not tonight. Tonight we rest. Breathe in, breathe out. The horror may be vast, but so is the calm of distance. The stars shine as they always have. The earth turns as it always will. 3i drifts silently above, indifferent to your heartbeat, your breath, your sleep. And as you close your eyes, let the invasion soften into dream. Let the shifting of reality become not fear, but wonder. For even if the laws change, sleep endures. Speculation is like climbing a mountain. Each step takes you higher, each view more dizzying, each breath more fragile. And at the summit you see not only beauty, but terror. We have walked far. We have imagined 3i Atlas as probe, as debris, as ruin. We have imagined it as trigger, as evidence of the great filter, as silent invasion. Now we stand at the summit, the worst case, the convergence. The worst case is not one theory, but all of them, woven together. Imagine this. 3i is a shard of a probe. Yes, launched by a civilization long gone. But it is also debris, ruin, fossil, a relic of extinction. It is evidence of the filter that destroys. But it is not passive. It is not only ruin, it is also trigger. Its glittering pulses are signals, awakening watchers in the dark forest. Its chemistry is seed, scattering contamination into new hosts. Its physics is needle, stitching new laws into reality. In this vision, 3i is everything: artifact, tombstone, signal, virus, law. It is the embodiment of the nightmare, that survival, extinction, invasion and change are not separate fates, but one fate, repeated across galaxies. The pattern of collapse. Perhaps this is the pattern. Civilizations rise, they reach outward. They scatter probes. Some break, become ruins. Those ruins drift. They are found. They act as triggers. They betray their makers. The hunters notice. The hunters strike. Civilizations fall, but fragments remain. They seed. They infect. They shift. They alter reality itself, ensuring that the cycle continues. The galaxy is not silent because it is empty. It is silent because it is recursive, a loop of rise, ruin, and repetition. The cosmic trap. This is the trap. To dream of the stars is to summon the end. To scatter machines is to scatter ruin. To find ruins is to awaken hunters. To awaken hunters is to fall. The silence of the cosmos is not absence. It is suppression. It is the quiet of a forest where every whisper is punished. And 3i, by drifting here, has pulled us into the cycle. We are no longer observers, we are participants. The horror of physics, but the trap may go deeper still. If 3i carries not only signal, not only seed, but alteration, if it is needle rewriting laws, then the worst case is not invasion by others, but invasion by change itself. The physics we know may not be universal. The constants may not be constant. They may be variables waiting to be shifted, and 3i may be the vector. Its anomalies are not evidence of technology, but evidence of reality bending. If so, then the worst case is not that we are noticed. The worst case is that we are rewritten. The view from the summit. Pause now, breathe. The summit is cold, the air is thin, the view is vast. From here, you see the worst case spread below you like valleys filled with shadow. Civilizations rise, scatter probes, fall. Ruins drift, become fossils, become triggers. Hunters wait, strike, extinguish. Fragments seed, infect, alter. Physics itself bends, ensuring the cycle continues. This is the picture at its darkest. The galaxy is a machine of recursion, a field of ruin, a forest of silence, a stage where every actor falls and the play repeats. The human reaction. What would we do if we believed this? Some would despair. They would say, why try if ruin is certain? Some would deny. They would cling to comets and chemistry, refusing to see the cycle. Some would rage. They would call for silence, for retreat, for hiding in caves of ignorance. And some would dream. They would say, if the trap is real, let us at least walk into it awake. Let us scatter our own shards so that some fragment of us too endures. The worst case may be doom, but even in doom there is defiance. The listeners wait. You, lying here listening, may feel the weight of this vision. It is heavy, almost unbearable, but let it settle gently. For even the worst case is still story, still possibility, still a mirror held to the unknown. The cycle may be real, or it may not, but the act of imagining it connects you to the builders of 3i, to their fears, their dreams, their fragments. You are part of the same thread, woven into the same pattern, and there is beauty in that, even if the pattern is ruin. The calm of acceptance. Sometimes the only response to horror is calm. Sometimes the only way to endure the summit is to sit, breathe, and watch the stars. The worst case may be vast. It may be inescapable, but it does not erase the moment. The stars are still above you. The earth is still beneath you. Your breath still flows. Your heart still beats. The cycle may claim civilizations, but it has not claimed you, not tonight. The descent. From the summit there is only one way, downward, toward reflection, toward philosophy, toward sleep. We have faced the worst case. We have looked into the abyss and seen not emptiness but recursion. Now we turn back gently toward meaning. For even in ruin, even in silence, even in endless cycles, there may be purpose. The road ahead. In the next chapter we step into philosophy. We ask, if the galaxy is ruin, what does that mean for us? If the filter waits, if the forest hides hunters, if the cycle repeats, then what meaning can humanity find? We will not find safety, but we may find perspective. We may find solace. We may find the beauty of being fragile in a vast, uncaring cosmos. After every summit comes the descent. After every storm, the quiet. After every speculation, the need for reflection. We have imagined the worst. Probes, ruins, triggers, filters, invasions. Now let us pause and ask, what does it mean? Not for the galaxy, not for civilizations unknown, but for us, for humanity, for you, listening here in the quiet of your night. The smallness of humanity. Begin with scale. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Human civilization, with all its wars and triumphs, is less than 10,000 years old. And you, with your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, you're measured in decades. In this immensity we are fragile, we are temporary, and yet it is precisely this fragility that gives us meaning. For what is precious, if not what is fleeting? A star may burn for billions of years, but a single human life, brief and bright, can hold love, beauty, wonder, all in the span of a breath. Our smallness is not weakness, it is value. The gift of awareness. No other creature on Earth looks at the stars and wonders. No other life form builds telescopes, names constellations, or imagines the silence of the dark forest. Awareness is our gift. To know that we are small, to know that we may be temporary, to know that, and still to dream. If 3i is a ruin, it means others once had this gift too. And though they may be gone, their awareness has left traces, shards, signals, anomalies. Awareness is fragile, but it is also enduring. It echoes across time through fragments. The beauty of uncertainty. Science seeks certainty, but life thrives on uncertainty. If we knew the truth of 3i, probe or ruin, trigger or rock, the mystery would vanish. We would lose the wonder. Uncertainty is the soil of imagination. It is the reason we tell stories, write poems, sing songs. It is the reason you are here, listening to this gentle cascade of words. The universe is uncertain, and that is beautiful. The shared sky. Pause and think of others. Tonight, as you listen, billions of humans share this sky. Some in deserts, some in cities, some at sea. They may not think of 3i. They may not think of filters or forests. But they may look up and feel small and feel wonder. This shared sky unites us. Across languages, across borders, across centuries, we all look upward. Our ancestors looked. Our descendants will look. Whatever 3i means, whatever its truth, it becomes part of this shared sky, part of humanity's story, part of your story. The fragility of time. Civilizations may fall, stars may die, laws may shift, but in this moment, you are alive. This is the philosophy of presence, to live not in the ruin of tomorrow, but in the breath of today. To cherish the moment of wonder without needing the answers. If the great filter waits, it waits. If hunters crouch in the forest, they crouch. If seeds fall, they fall. But now you are alive, and that is enough. The flame of meaning. Some say the universe is indifferent, that life has no meaning but what we create. If that is true, then meaning is not given. It is made. We make it by loving. We make it by dreaming. We make it by gazing at the stars and asking questions, even when answers never come. If 3i is ruin, its builders once made meaning too. They once loved, dreamed, asked. Their flame has gone out. Ours still burns. And that flame, brief, fragile, human, is the most precious thing we have. The listener's philosophy. You lying here listening may wonder, what am I in this immensity? You are breath. You are heartbeat. You are thought. You are the cosmos, aware of itself, dreaming of itself. You are the eyes through which the universe sees, the voice through which it whispers, the mind through which it wonders. You are not separate from the stars. You are made of them. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, all forged in stellar fire billions of years ago. When you look at 3i, you're not looking at the other. You're looking at kin, distant, alien, mysterious, but kin nonetheless. The calm of acceptance. Philosophy is not the end of fear, but its transformation. We cannot banish the dark forest. We cannot deny the filter. We cannot promise survival. But we can accept, we can breathe, we can live. The cosmos is vast, we are small, the silence is deep. But within that silence we are here. We are awake. We are alive. And that is enough. The road ahead. We have turned from horror to philosophy, from dread to meaning, but the story is not yet done. In the next chapter, we will reflect on the known unknowns, the mysteries still unresolved, the questions still unanswered. We will gather the fragments of science and speculation, not to solve them, but to honour them. For it is the questions, not the answers, that keep us alive to wonder. The philosopher Socrates once said, "I know that I know nothing." It was not despair, it was humility, and humility is the truest companion of science. For when we face the cosmos, we face immensities beyond comprehension. We can measure, model, speculate. But at the edge of every discovery waits the unknown. And so tonight let us gather them, the mysteries 3i Atlas has left us, the known unknowns. The mystery of motion. First the path. 3i does not obey gravity alone. Its acceleration defies predictions. Outgassing cannot explain it. Fragmentation cannot account for it. Exotic chemistry strains belief. It moves differently, and yet we do not know why. This is a known unknown, a puzzle visible, measurable, undeniable, yet unanswered. The mystery of light. Second, the brightness. Its glints are sharp, rhythmic, haunting, not smooth, not random, not consistent with tumbling stone. They repeat, like mirrors flashing in the dark. But mirrors of what? Flat facets of ice, shards of alloy, panels of design? We cannot say. This is a known unknown, a rhythm without song, a pulse without source. The mystery of chemistry. Third, the spectrum. Alien ratios, cyanogen bands stronger than expected, hints of metals, faint but unsettling. Not impossible, but not familiar. Does it mean construction? Ruin? Seed? Or merely the diversity of worlds beyond our sun? We do not know. This is a known unknown, a fingerprint without identity. The mystery of context. Fourth, the pattern. Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. 3 interstellar visitors in less than a decade, each carrying strangeness, coincidence or sequence. If coincidence, it stretches the mind. If sequence, it whispers of a larger pattern, a flow of fragments, a drift of ruins, a storm of bottles washing upon our shore. We cannot tell, not yet. This is a known unknown, a story without chronology. The mystery of silence. Fifth, the silence. The galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, and yet no voices, no signals, no clear beacons. Is it because there are none? Or because they hide? Or because we do not yet know how to listen? The silence is louder than any signal, and in its echo we wonder. This is the deepest known unknown, a silence without answer. The weight of mystery. When we gather these unknowns, motion, light, chemistry, context, silence, we see not emptiness, but fullness, not absence, but abundance of questions. Each unknown is not failure, it is invitation to wonder, to imagine, to dream. Science is not weakened by mystery, it is nourished by it. For the greatest discoveries are born not of answers, but of questions. The listener's reflection. You, listening now, may feel the pull of these unknowns. They are heavy, yes, but also gentle. They do not demand solutions tonight. They do not demand certainty. They only ask you to rest with them, to let the mysteries float like stars above your mind, to breathe with the rhythm of wonder. You do not need to solve the cosmos. You only need to be part of it. The humility of perspective. It is easy to believe we are close to understanding everything. We have split the atom, mapped the genome, photographed black holes, launched telescopes that see the dawn of time. But compared to what remains, our knowledge is a candle in a cathedral, a fragile flame surrounded by endless shadow. And that is not cause for despair, it is cause for awe. For to live at the edge of mystery is to live in wonder. The comfort of ignorance. Ignorance is not always failure, sometimes it is comfort. If we knew all the dangers of the dark forest, could we sleep? If we knew the timing of the great filter, could we breathe? If we knew the truth of 3i, probe or ruin, would we not lose the beauty of imagining? Ignorance allows us to dream, it gives space for stories, it gives space for hope. The known unknowns are not weights to crush us, they are pillows to rest upon. The shared journey. Remember, we are not alone in wondering. Astronomers stay awake at night, scanning skies, mapping trajectories, debating in whispers. Writers and dreamers imagine civilizations lost and found. Children look up and ask, what's that star? The questions of 3i are not yours alone. They belong to all of humanity. They are part of our shared journey, our shared sky, our shared story. The road to the end. We have walked far, from discovery to anomaly to speculation to horror to philosophy to humility. Now only one step remains, the gentle descent into conclusion. Not answers, but closure. Not certainty, but peace. In the next and final chapter, we will let go of the questions. We will rest in the silence of the cosmos. We will drift into the final descent, into sleep, into stillness, into the eternal quiet of the stars. Closing calm, breathe in, breathe out. The known unknowns are many, they are vast, they are humbling, but they are also beautiful. For to live with questions is to live awake. To dream with questions is to sleep alive. 3i drifts on, you drift too, both small, both fragile, both wrapped in mystery. And that is enough. Every story must end, every journey must rest, every voice, even one that whispers of stars and shadows, must one day fall silent. And so tonight, after discovery and anomaly, after speculation and fear, after philosophy and humility, we arrive at the final descent, not into despair, not into answers, but into stillness. The gentle closing of the book. Imagine a vast book, its pages as wide as galaxies, its letters written in starlight. For 19 chapters we have read together. We have traced the orbit of 3i Atlas, its strange motion, its glittering pulse, its alien chemistry. We have asked if it is probe, debris, ruin, or seed. We have walked through forests of fear, across filters of extinction, into the shifting laws of reality itself. But now, gently, we close the book. The questions remain, written still on the pages. But tonight, you need not read further. Tonight you may rest. The stars' lullaby. Look upward one last time in your imagination. The sky is not empty. It is filled with stars, each a sun, each a fire, each a story. Some stars are young, burning blue, fierce with life. Some are old, swollen red, their light dim, their fuel fading. Some are already gone, their light still crossing space to reach you, ghosts shining across time. And among them drift the visitors, Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. Small shards, strange fragments, fleeting in their passage. They do not speak, they do not answer, they only move. And their movement itself is lullaby, slow, gentle, endless. The listener's place. Now bring yourself into this sky. You're not separate from it. You're not an observer peering in from outside, you are part of it. The iron in your blood was forged in stars. The oxygen in your lungs was breathed out by ancient suns. The water in your body once drifted as ice among comets. When you breathe the cosmos. When you sleep as part of the universe itself. There is no border. You're not looking at the stars, you are the stars looking at themselves. The gift of questions. We have asked so many questions. What is 3i? Why does it move as it does? What does it mean for us? And though we have woven answers of speculation we do not know, we may never know, but that is the gift. For certainty closes doors, but questions keep them open. Questions are the air of wonder, the heartbeat of curiosity. As you drift into sleep, let the questions remain. They will not weigh you down. They will carry you upward, into dreams as wide as galaxies, the ocean of sleep. Think of sleep not as absence, but as ocean. A deep, calm sea into which you drift. Your thoughts are ships, your breath the tide, your heartbeat the rhythm of waves. 3i is just one bottle floating there, one shard drifting. Others wait too in the depths of your dreams, fragments of wonder, fragments of fear, fragments of hope. And in that ocean you are safe. No hunter waits, no filter looms, no ruin threatens, only the steady rocking of stars, the silence of the cosmos. Silence can feel frightening, but silence can also be sanctuary. The galaxy is silent tonight. No beacons, no signals, no answers. But in that silence, there is peace. For silence means you are free to imagine, free to dream, free to wonder without limit. Silence is the universe saying, rest now. You need not solve me tonight. You need only close your eyes. The final breath of 3i, and what of 3i Atlas? It drifts on, it always drifts. Past Mars, toward the sun, curving, glinting, vanishing into the dark again. Its mysteries remain, its riddles remain. But it asks nothing of you. It only passes, like a thought, like a dream, like a whisper fading into dawn. And that is enough. Not every riddle needs solution. Some are meant only to be felt for a moment, and then released. 3i has crossed your sky. Now let it cross your mind, and then let it go. The listener's descent. Now feel your own descent. Your breath has slowed. Your body has grown heavy, sinking into the bed beneath you. Your thoughts drift further apart like stars separating with the expansion of the universe. You're not falling, you're floating, drifting downward as softly as a feather, as quietly as a shard of interstellar ice. The descent is not frightening, it is peaceful. It is the return to where all stories end: silence, calm, rest. The unity of ending. Every civilization ends, every star ends, every life ends. And yet, endings are not loss, they are unity. For when a flame goes out, its heat lingers. When a star dies, its elements scatter. When a story ends, its echoes live in memory. This story too is ending, but its echoes remain in you, in your curiosity, in your wonder, in the quiet rhythm of your breath. The cosmos does not mourn endings, it folds them into beginnings, and so too shall you. The gentle farewell. Let us leave with no fear, no demand, no urgency, only with gratitude. Gratitude for the stars that birthed you, gratitude for the mysteries that humble you, gratitude for the breath that carries you into sleep. You are small, you are brief, and that is your greatness. The cosmos does not need eternity from you. It only needs this, that you live, that you love, that you wonder, that you dream. The closing silence. And now let words fall away, let thoughts dissolve, let silence return. The story is done, the visitor has passed. The questions remain, but they are gentle now, softer than lullabies, lighter than air. Breathe in, breathe out. You are safe, you are drifting, you are asleep.